My phone rang just after 9 p.m. I was sitting in the back room of the funeral home, sorting papers and trying to stay awake. I don't usually get calls that late, and I never expected it to be Mr. Harrow, my boss. "Can you take a last minute job tonight?" he asked. I blinked. "Tonight? Yes. Starts at midnight. A funeral, no family, no friends. Just a body. You'll just need to show up, make sure everything's in place, and stay until 3 a.m. I waited. "That's odd." "It is," he said. "But it pays 5 times the usual." That got my attention. I don't make much. I work quiet nights, cleaning up and checking on the rooms. No one ever really sees me, but 5 times the pay for one shift. I asked what the catch was. "There's no catch," he said. "Too fast. You'll be alone." "Yes. But it's just a job. The place is Hollow Pines Cemetery. The caretaker will be waiting with the casket." "I've never been there. You don't need to know it," he said. "Just follow the directions I'll send. Go straight there. Be respectful. Stay until 3 a.m., then leave. Don't ask questions." That last part made my stomach twist. "Why?" "No family?" I asked. He was quiet for a second. "No one claimed the body. That's all I know." I should have said no. It didn't feel right, but I needed the money. I told him I'd go. After we hung up, I got the directions. The cemetery was far, at the edge of a wooded area I'd never heard of. I grabbed my flashlight, coat, and work ID, then headed out. The drive took over an hour. The road turned narrow, then dirt. Trees closed in on both sides. I almost turned around twice, but then I saw the gate. Hollow Pines Cemetery. A small, rusted sign hung crooked on the gate. The place was dead quiet. No lights, no houses nearby. Just tall black trees and cold ground. A man stepped out from the shadows near the gates. He looked like he'd been standing there a long time. Tall, thin, pale face. I couldn't tell how old he was. "You're here for the midnight service?" he asked. I nodded. "Yes. From Harrow's mortuary." He handed me a key on a chain and pointed down the gravel path. "Go straight. The grave is ready. The casket is there. Wait until 3, then leave." "That's it?" I asked. He didn't answer. He just turned and walked back into the trees. I stood there, holding the key, wondering if this was a mistake. My hands felt cold. I hadn't even seen the body yet. No name, no photo, nothing. But I walked in. The path was narrow and uneven. My flashlight flickered. I passed crooked tombstones and broken statues. Some of the graves looked older than anything I'd seen before. Names worn away, dates missing. Then I saw the casket. It was already placed beside an open grave. Black wood, no flowers, no nameplate. There was a small bench nearby, and a note, taped to the side of the coffin. "Service begins at midnight. Remain until 3 a.m. That was all. I looked around. No one. No caretaker. No family. Just the woods, the fog, and the coffin. I sat on the bench and waited every few seconds. I checked my watch. 11:45, 11:53, 11:59. The wind stopped. Then the minute hand ticked. 12 a.m. The funeral had begun, and I was the only one there, or so. I thought. I followed the directions, exactly like my boss texted. The road got narrow fast. Trees on both sides. No lights, no houses, no signs of people. I kept checking the GPS, but the signal started jumping. 1 minute it said 10 minutes away, then 2, then 15 again. I should have turned around, but I didn't. Finally, I saw a small metal gate up ahead. It was bent, rusted, and hanging off one side. A faded wooden sign next to it said, Hollow Pines Cemetery. I parked outside the gate and got out. The ground was soft under my shoes, like it had just rained, but the sky was clear. Then I saw him. Man was standing just inside the gate. I didn't hear him walk up. He was just there, tall, very thin, grey coat. His face looked like paper, pale and dry. His eyes didn't blink. I thought maybe he was wearing contacts or something. You're the one sent for the night service? He asked. Yeah, from Harrow's mortuary, I said. I was told to meet someone here. He didn't move. Then he pulled a small key from his pocket. It was old, with a thick, rusted ring around it. Go straight down the path, he said. You'll see the grave. Stay until 3 a.m., no matter what. I frowned. What do you mean, no matter what? Don't leave early, he said. Don't speak during the service. Don't interfere. Interfere with what? He just stared at me, then pointed. Follow the lanterns. I looked down the path. A few dim lanterns were lit, but barely. The fog was creeping in between the trees. When I looked back to ask another question, the man was gone. I didn't hear him walk away. No sound. He had just vanished. I felt my chest get tight. I wanted to call my boss, but I had no bars. The signal was gone. I took the key and walked forward. The path was full of roots and broken stones. It didn't feel like a real cemetery. It felt older, wrong. Some of the headstones were tilted, cracked. Names were scratched off or too faded to read. I saw one with only a date, 1891, and nothing else. As I kept walking, I saw something ahead. A casket. It was sitting next to an open grave. Just like my boss said, it was already set up. The grave looked deep. The coffin was black, with no nameplate, no flowers, just sitting there like it was waiting for something. There were 2 benches nearby, facing the grave. I looked around. No sign of the caretaker. No sign of anyone else. But there was fog crawling along the ground now, thick and white. It wrapped around the headstones and trees like smoke. I couldn't even see the gate anymore. It was way too quiet. No animals. No wind, no cars. Just me, the grave, and the fog. I sat down on the bench. I checked my watch. 11:30 p.m. 30 minutes until the funeral. I didn't know who was coming, or if anyone was, but it didn't feel like I was alone. Not at all. I sat on the bench near the grave. The coffin was right in front of me, sitting beside the open hole in the ground. It was black, smooth, and didn't have a name on it. No flowers, no plaque, no cross. I stood up and walked over to it. There was no paperwork, no funeral folder, nothing. Just a small note taped to the side of the coffin. It said, "Service begins at midnight. Remain until 3 a.m. That was it. No name, no warning, no instructions. I looked at the open grave. It was deep, way deeper than usual. The dirt was piled up to the side, neat and clean. Someone had prepared all this earlier, but I didn't know who. I had never seen this done without a team. I looked around again. No one was there. No signs of family. No caretaker, just me. I checked. My phone, still no signal. I tried walking a little ways back, toward the gate, but the path was gone. I mean, it was there. but it didn't look the same. The trees looked different. The fog had gotten thicker. It was like the path behind me didn't want me to leave. I turned back toward the grave. I decided to just sit and wait, like the note said. Midnight, then 3 a.m., then I could leave. I sat back down on the bench and stared at the coffin. After a few minutes, I checked my watch. 11:43 p.m. I waited, then I checked again. 11:43 p.m. I thought maybe I read it wrong. I waited some more, then looked again. Still 11:43. My heart started beating harder. I tapped the watch, shook my wrist. Then suddenly, it jumped to 11:51. I frowned. Weird, I whispered. That's when I noticed something else. The coffin looked ... different. I couldn't say how. Maybe it was closer. Maybe the lid looked more sealed than before. I wasn't sure, but something felt off. I stood up again, walked around it, touched the lid. It felt cold, like metal, even though it looked like wood. I bent down to peek at the sides. No name, no markings. Then I noticed something under the bench. A small piece of paper. I picked it up. It was blank, but when I turned it toward the light, I saw a word written faintly in the corner. Witness. That's all it said. I put it in my pocket. I checked. The time again. Now it said 12:03. Had the funeral started? Was I missing something? I stood and waited. Nothing happened. No voices, no people, not even wind. I started to feel dizzy, like time wasn't moving right. I sat back down, stared at the coffin. I tried not to blink. I just kept watching it. Then, I felt something strange, like someone was behind me. I spun around. No one. I looked back at the coffin. It was slightly open. Not all the way, just a crack. But I was sure it had been shut tight before. I stood up fast. My hands were shaking. I didn't hear it open. I didn't see it move. But it was open now. I walked toward it, slow. I bent down and put my ear near the crack. Nothing then. I heard a sound, a slow breath from inside. I jumped back, but the coffin was still no movement, no sound now. I backed up to the bench and sat down again. My legs were weak. I looked at my watch. 12 a.m. again. The same time, still at exactly midnight. I heard footsteps. They came from behind the trees, slow, soft, crunching the dirt. I stood up fast and turned toward the sound. An old woman walked out of the fog. She wore a long black coat and a black hat. Her face was pale. Her eyes looked dull, like she was sleepwalking. She didn't say anything. She didn't even look at me. She walked over to the bench across from mine and sat down, hands folded, back straight, eyes locked on the coffin. I wanted to say something, maybe hi, or are you here for the funeral? But something stopped me. She didn't move. She didn't blink. I sat back down. I checked my watch. 12:01. Then I looked up again. A man was standing by the grave. I didn't hear him come. He was just there. He looked about 40. He wore a full suit and tie, like someone from an old photo. His skin looked dusty. His eyes were dark. He didn't talk either. He just stood behind the coffin with his hands at his sides. Then I heard more footsteps. I turned and saw 3 people walking from the fog, 2 women and a tall man. They were dressed in black. One of the women had a small black veil over her face. None of them made a sound. They sat on the bench next to the old woman. More people. followed one by one. They came out of the fog. Some looked young, some were old. All of them wore black. All had blank faces. No one smiled. No one cried. No one even whispered "soon." Both benches were full. Others stood around the grave in a wide circle, their faces pale in the lantern light. I started to feel sick, like I had fallen into a dream I couldn't wake up from. I looked at their hands. Most of them were folded in their laps. Some held flowers, but the petals were grey, like they had been dead a long time. Still, not a single person spoke. I tried to whisper to the man standing near the coffin, "Hey, who passed away?" He didn't move. I cleared my throat. "Do you know who?" He turned his head slightly, and for the first time, I saw his face up close. It looked like paper, thin, like it could tear if I touched it. He stared at me, not angry, not sad, just ... Watching, I looked around again. Every single person was now staring at me. I didn't know why. I wasn't the speaker. I wasn't family. I was just the guy hired to be here. But every pair of eyes was locked on me. I shifted on the bench and looked at the ground. I whispered, "What is this?" No answer. I stared down at my shoes and waited. The air felt heavy, like something was pushing down on my chest. I looked at my watch again. Still said 12 o'clock. Even after all those people came, the time hadn't changed. Then I looked up the coffin. It was closer, not much, just a little, but I was sure it had moved. And the man next to it, he was now gone. I sat still. Everyone around the grave was silent. No one moved. No one spoke. They just stared at me. I tried not to look back at them, but it was hard. Their faces felt too close, even though they were sitting across from me. Then I heard it, whispering. It was soft at first, like wind through dry leaves. I thought maybe it was just the trees, but it got louder. I looked up. Everyone was still as statues, but I could hear whispering. Clearer now. It sounded like many voices all at once, saying things I couldn't understand. I looked at the old woman across from me. Her lips weren't moving. None of their mouths were, but the whispers kept going. I stood up slowly. "Hello," I said. "Can anyone hear me?" No one answered. I took a deep breath and said louder, "Is this part of the service?" Still nothing. I looked down at the coffin. It hadn't moved, but the space around it felt wrong, like the ground was sinking just a little. The whispers kept going, right in my ear, but no one was near me. I turned to the man on the edge of the group, the one in the black suit. "Hey, do you hear that?" He didn't blink. I stepped closer. "Seriously, do you hear that whispering?" He slowly turned to face me. His eyes locked onto mine, and then he smiled. It was slow, like someone stretching old skin, but that wasn't what scared me most. It was the face. It wasn't his. It looked like someone else's face had been placed on his head, like a mask that didn't fit right. The eyes didn't line up. The mouth was too wide. The skin around the edges was wrinkled and loose. I backed away fast. What are you?" I whispered. He didn't answer. He just kept smiling. Then, 2 more people looked at me. Their faces were wrong too. One had eyes that were way too small. The other had no nose, just smooth skin where it should be. My legs felt weak. I turned in a circle. Every mourner around me started turning their heads to face me. One by one, and all of them had the wrong faces. I tried to run, but my body felt heavy, like I was moving through thick water. I forced my way to the front bench and grabbed my bag. I tried to speak again, but no sound came out. I opened my mouth wide. Nothing, no voice, no breath, just silence. The whispers got louder. They were inside my ears now. I couldn't cover them. I couldn't stop them. They said things I still couldn't understand, but now they started to sound like my name. Over and over, not in one. Voice in many dot whispers, calling my name. I covered my ears and dropped to the ground. I felt someone behind me. I turned. No one was there. But on the bench, where the old woman had been sitting, was a folded paper. I picked it up with shaking hands. It had 3 words written in red. "You are next." I don't know what made me do it. Maybe it was the note. Maybe it was the whispers. Or maybe it was the way they were all looking at me, like they were waiting. But I knew one thing. I had to open the coffin. My hands were shaking as I stepped toward it. I didn't hear footsteps, but I could feel the crowd getting closer behind me. I grabbed the side of the lid. It was heavy, cold. I pulled slowly. It creaked open. At first I saw nothing, just a white cloth, a still shape under it. I pulled the lid all the way back and leaned over, and I froze. It was me. I was lying inside the coffin. Same face, same clothes, same watch on the wrist. Eyes shut, skin pale, lips slightly open. It looked just like me. No, it was me. I felt my head spin. My stomach turned. I backed away fast and almost tripped over the bench. "No," I whispered. "That can't be me. I'm right here." I looked down at my hands. They were shaking hard. I looked at my shoes, same ones as the body in the box. I looked back into the coffin. Nothing had changed. My body just lay there, still dead. Then I heard it, a hum, low at first, soft, then louder. I turned. The people around me, the ones who had been whispering, were now humming. All of them. They didn't move. They didn't blink. Just stared and hummed, like a slow song that only they knew. The sound filled my ears. I wanted to cover them, but couldn't move. The air felt heavy again. I turned back to the coffin. The body, inside, opened its eyes. I gasped and jumped back. The eyes were dull, grey, lifeless. But they were open, and they were looking right at me. The humming grew louder. The people behind me stepped closer. I could hear the ground shifting. I looked down. The dirt around the grave was moving, not like something digging up, but like the ground itself was breathing, rising and falling, slowly, like a chest. I backed up more. My legs felt weak again. My knees hit the bench, and I almost fell. I wanted to scream, wanted to run, but I couldn't. Then the body in the coffin smiled, not wide, just enough to see the corners of its lips curl up. And that's when I noticed something worse. The face in the coffin. It didn't look exactly like me anymore. It looked like what I would look like after death. Dry skin, hollow cheeks, eyes. To still, it was like I was seeing myself after I'd been gone a long time. "No," I said again, louder this time. "I'm not dead." The humming stopped. The silence hit hard. Then, all at once, every person in the circle turned around and walked away, disappearing back into the fog. One by one, gone, gone. I looked down again. The coffin was closed. I didn't remember shutting it. The grave was filled. I didn't hear dirt being shoveled. And I was alone again, except now. I wasn't sure if I was alive. I looked down at my watch again. 12 o'clock a.m. Still, it had said that for ... I don't even know how long now. I pressed the buttons. Nothing changed. I held it to my ear. No ticking, just stuck. I stood up and took a deep breath. Okay, I said out loud. Time to leave. I grabbed my flashlight and walked back the way I came, past the benches, through the fog toward the trees. The path looked the same. I kept walking. A few minutes later, I saw something up ahead. A grave and a coffin beside it. The same coffin, the same grave, the benches. I had walked in a full circle. I stood still. What is this? I whispered. I turned around and walked the other way. Faster this time. My boots hit the soft ground. Fog brushed against my legs. I didn't look at the headstones. I just kept moving. 10 minutes passed, maybe more. Then I saw it again, the same grave, the same coffin. I had circled back again. I started to panic. I pulled out my phone, no signal. I dialed my boss anyway, nothing. I tried to text him, the message didn't send. I looked around. The fog had gotten thicker. I could barely see 10 feet ahead. Then I heard footsteps, fast ones. I turned, no one was there. Hello, I shouted. Silence. Then I heard whispering again, not around me, inside my head, short. Words, broken words. Some of them sounded like my name. I dropped to my knees and held my head. Stop, I whispered. Stop, stop, stop. Then the ground under me shook, just a little, like something moving under the dirt. I stood up and backed away. Then I saw her, the old woman from before, sitting on the bench. Again, she hadn't been there a minute ago, but now she was. I looked at the second bench. The man in the black suit was sitting there, too. His hands were folded. His face was turned toward me. No expression. I turned in a full circle. The mourners were all back, standing in their places, just like before, like they had never left. I shouted at them, "Who are you? What do you want?" No answer, not even a blink. I stepped forward. My foot hit something. A photo. I picked it up. It was old and faded. There was a kid in it, sitting on a porch. It wasn't me, but I knew that porch. It was my grandmother's house, the one that burned down when I was 10. I looked at the back of the photo. Summer, 1998. But I didn't know that kid. I dropped the photo and looked at the bench. Now someone else was sitting there. A girl. She looked maybe 15. She stared right at me and mouthed something. I couldn't hear it, but I could read her lips. Help me. I blinked and she was gone. I backed up again. Everything felt wrong, like I was inside a dream that knew my name. I looked down at my watch. Still 12 o'clock a.m. No time had passed, but I felt like I had been here forever. I sat on the bench again. I didn't know what to do. I had tried walking away. I had shouted. I had opened the coffin. Nothing changed. The people were back, still, silent. The coffin was shut again. Time was stuck, and now my own mind was starting to feel strange. I felt heavy, like I was sinking into something I couldn't see. Then something hit me, a memory one I hadn't thought about in years. It was from when I was a kid, maybe 10, maybe 11. I was riding my bike near the highway. I wasn't supposed to. I thought I could cross before the light changed. I didn't make it. A truck came from the side, fast. I remember the sound of the horn. Then everything went black. But here's the thing, I saw something. Before I woke up in the hospital, I had a dream. At least I thought it was a dream. I saw a grave, a funeral, people in black clothes, and I saw a coffin. I walked up to it. I looked inside, and I saw myself. I was dead. I remember crying. I remember screaming for someone to wake me up. Then I opened my eyes in the hospital, and the dream was gone. My parents never talked about it. I never told anyone. They said I was lucky, that I could have died. But maybe I did. Or maybe I was supposed to. What if this funeral now, this one at Hollow Pines, was the one I saw back then? What if it wasn't just a dream? I stood up and looked at the coffin again. I walked over to it. I didn't touch it this time. I just stood there. Is this mine? I whispered. No answer, but I felt it deep inside me. I knew this funeral wasn't random. It wasn't for a stranger. It wasn't a mistake. It was always for me. I was just late. That's why no one else showed up. That's why the mourners didn't speak. That's why the time didn't move. It wasn't waiting for 3 o'clock a.m. It was waiting for me to understand. I looked around at the faces again. They weren't strangers. Some of them looked familiar now. A teacher I had once stopped, my old neighbor, a kid from my street who had died years ago. People from my past, all quiet, all still. Had they been here the whole time? Were they waiting for me? I backed away from the grave. I'm not dead, I said out loud. I survived. I lived. That truck didn't kill me. The fog thickened. The ground under my feet felt soft. I looked at my hands. They were shaking. I touched my chest, felt my heartbeat. It was fast, but it was still there. I was alive, wasn't I? Or maybe this place didn't care about that. Maybe this place had been calling me back since that day. Maybe I wasn't supposed to walk away from that accident. Maybe I had just been living on borrowed time. I sat by the grave and stared at the coffin. I didn't move. I didn't speak. I felt like I was already halfway gone. Then I heard it. Dong. It was a deep, heavy bell sound, loud enough to shake my bones. Dong, don't. It rang again. Dong 3 times. That was it. I looked down at my watch. 3 a.m. The time had finally changed, and everything else stopped. The fog froze in the air. The trees didn't move. The people around the grave, if they were people, stood completely still, like they had been frozen in place. And then, right in front of me, the coffin closed all by itself. The lid moved slowly and made a deep clicking sound when it shut. I jumped up and backed away. Then the ground began to move. The grave started to pull the coffin down, like it was sinking into soft mud. No hands, no tools, just the earth swallowing it. The dirt fell in on its own, smooth and slow. In less than a minute, the coffin was gone. The grave was filled. There was no sign it had ever been opened. I turned to the people on the benches. They were still frozen, but their eyes were on me again. I took a step back. That's when I felt it, a strange feeling in my chest, like I was getting lighter, not like I was floating, more like I was fading. I looked at my hands. They were blurry. I held them up in front of my face. I could still see them, but they looked see-through, like fog or smoke. I turned to the bench where I had left my bag. I walked over to it. My footsteps didn't make a sound anymore. I picked up the bag. but it slipped through my fingers. It landed on the ground with a soft thump. I stared at my hands again. They were fading faster now. Am I dying? I asked. No one answered. I looked down at the dirt. My shadow was gone. It wasn't behind me, not in front of me, nowhere. I turned in a full circle. Still nothing. Then I reached into my pocket. The key the old caretaker gave me. It was still there. I pulled it out, but as soon as I opened my hand, it turned grey. Then it crumbled into ash dot, like it had never been real. I stood there, frozen. I didn't know what to do. My whole body felt like it was coming apart, slowly, quietly, piece by piece. I couldn't cry. I couldn't scream. Then the people around the grave finally moved. All at once, they stood up. They faced the grave. Not me. Then they turned and walked into the fog. One by one, no words, no looks. They just disappeared. I was the only one left, half here, half not. I didn't know what would happen next, but I knew this. I was never supposed to leave that accident when I was a kid. I was supposed to be buried back then, and now I finally was. I don't remember leaving. I don't remember walking away from the grave. But somehow, I'm standing here now, in the same place, same benches, same trees, same fog. Only now, I'm not alone. I see someone else walking in. He looks confused, nervous. He's holding a flashlight in one hand and a phone in the other. He's wearing the same name tag I used to wear. Harrow's Mortuary. Night staff. I recognize that look on his face. That was me. Not long ago, he walks up slowly, looking around like he's trying to figure it out. He spots the coffin first. It's already there, placed next to the same open grave. He walks closer, bends down, reads the note taped to the side. I know what it says. Service begins at midnight. Remain until 3 a.m. He looks around, but he doesn't see us yet. He doesn't see me. I'm sitting on the bench now, with the others. We're all quiet, still, watching. I want to say something. I want to warn him, but I can't speak. My mouth doesn't move. I try to stand, but I don't feel my legs anymore. I'm just ... here, stuck, waiting. He walks past us, doesn't even notice. He looks down at the grave. Then he checks his watch. He sits and he waits. I remember that part too. Sitting, thinking it was just another job, just another night. But it's never just a night here. He checks his phone. No signal. He gets up, tries to walk back toward the gate. But I know what's going to happen. The path will twist. He'll walk in a circle. He'll come right back, and he'll start to feel it. The time not moving, the air pressing down, the whispers, the coffin. He'll open it. He'll see something he's not ready to see. I look to my left. The old woman is sitting beside me. Her eyes are blank to my right. The man in the black suit, still as a statue. We are all watching, not because we want to, but because we have to. This is what we do. Now we are the watchers. We wait for the next one, for someone else to sit in this same place, to open that same coffin, to learn the truth just like I did. I watch the new guy take a deep breath. He leans back on the bench. He looks tired. Already, the fog starts to move again, thicker, closer, and somewhere behind us. I hear the first whisper, soft, quiet, calling his name. He doesn't hear it yet, but he will soon, very soon. My brother's voice came through the baby monitor. He died last year. Baby monitors are meant to pick up cries and whispers, not voices from the grave. But this one carried a voice they never expected to hear again. It's strange how quiet a house gets once the baby falls asleep. We had only lived there for about 2 weeks. The house was old, but not falling apart, just used. The floors creaked a little, and some of the doors didn't close right. But it felt like a fresh start for us. My wife, Cara, was finally resting after a long week. Our son, Jamie, was 5 months old and finally sleeping through the night. Mostly, I was in the nursery, checking the baby monitor. We had 2, one that stayed with Cara, and one I kept with me downstairs. I had just finished clipping the little camera to the corner of the crib rail. It had a green light on top that blinked when it was recording. I stepped back and looked. Around the room, it was cute. Light blue walls, a soft rug, books stacked by the chair. Cara had made it feel warm and safe. Still, something felt off. Not wrong, really. Just a little weird. Like the air felt heavier in that room than in the rest of the house. I told myself I was just tired, after all. I hadn't been sleeping much. Not since Jamie was born, and definitely not since my brother died. That had been almost a year ago. He was only 23. A car accident, quick and brutal. One of those things that doesn't feel real. Even after the funeral, I shook the thought out of my head and picked up the monitor screen. It was small and square, with a black and white video feed. I could see Jamie sleeping on his side, breathing. Slow, then I heard a crackle. I paused. The monitor made another noise, soft static, just for a second, then went back to normal. Probably just interference. These things do that sometimes still. I lowered the monitor and stared at the crib for a little longer. Nothing moved. I checked the window, closed. I looked down the hall. Empty. Then I heard Cara call from the bedroom. Everything good? Yeah. I said, just checking the monitor. Okay. Come to bed. I took one last glance at Jamie, then switched off the nursery light and pulled the door almost closed. Just a little crack left open. I walked downstairs, sat on the couch, and turned the volume up on the monitor, just in case. For about an hour, nothing happened. Just the soft sound of white noise. Jamie didn't make a sound. I almost dozed off. Then I heard it, a breath. I sat up straight. It was soft, like someone exhaling close to the mic. Then another sound, whispering. I held the monitor closer to my ear. I couldn't make out words, just soft, broken whispers, too quiet to understand. I got up fast and ran upstairs. I pushed open the nursery door. Jamie was still asleep. Alone, I checked every corner. The closet, under the crib. Nothing. I stood in the doorway, holding the monitor. It was quiet again. The green light blinked. It happened 3 nights later. I was lying in bed, halfway asleep. Kara was next to me, already out. The baby monitor sat on my nightstand, screen glowing soft grey dot. Jamie had been asleep for a while. No sound from his room. Nothing weird. Then, right around 2 a.m., I heard it. A voice. Just one word at first. Jamie. I opened my eyes. The monitor was still on. The video feed showed Jamie in the crib, still sleeping on his side. I sat up and leaned closer to the speaker. Jamie. The voice whispered again. It was quiet, fuzzy, like it was being said through a thick blanket or over a bad phone. Cool, but I knew that voice. It wasn't Kara. It wasn't me. It sounded like my brother. I froze. I didn't move, didn't blink, just stared at the screen and listened. Jamie, he's so small now. That's what it said next. I grabbed the monitor off the table. My hands were shaking. Who's there? I said, loud enough to wake Kara. She stirred but didn't open her eyes. What's wrong? Nothing, I whispered. Thought I heard something. She turned away and went back to sleep. I stared at the screen. Jamie was still sleeping. Still breathing. No one else was in the room. I watched for a long time. No more sounds came through. Just soft white noise, like usual. I sat there thinking it couldn't be his voice. That wasn't possible. My brother died a year ago, but I know what I heard. It was his voice, a little slower, like he was tired or far away. I thought about waking Kara. I really did, but what would I say? I think my dead brother is talking. Through the baby monitor, she'd tell me I'm sleep deprived, or maybe just dreaming. And maybe she'd be right. Maybe I imagined it. Maybe I wanted to hear him again so badly. My brain made it up, but it didn't feel like a dream. I picked up the monitor and walked to the nursery. Jamie was still there. Peaceful, no crying, no one in the room. Closet was closed. Window was locked. Everything was fine, normal, except it didn't feel normal. I looked at the monitor one last time before turning it off. There was nothing on the screen but my sleeping son. I went back to bed and laid there for hours, staring at the ceiling. I didn't hear the voice again, not that night, but the sound of it stayed in my head, playing over and over. Jamie. He's so small now. Why would my brother say that? Was he watching? Was it even him? I didn't tell Kara the next morning. I just got up early, made coffee, and acted like everything was okay. But I kept looking at the monitor, waiting. I was so tired that week, I could barely think straight. Every night I went to bed late and woke up even earlier. Jamie was teething, Kara was working longer shifts, and I had started checking the baby monitor way too often. But after hearing my brother's voice, or what I thought was his voice, I couldn't stop thinking about it. The next morning, I replayed the monitor's audio on my laptop. I sat there in the kitchen with headphones on, scrolling back to 2 a.m. I listened to it 3 times, but there was nothing. No whisper, no name, just soft static. It was like the voice never happened, or maybe it only happened to me. I didn't tell Kara. She was already stressed. I didn't want her to think I was losing it. But I started to wonder, what if I was? I hadn't slept right in days. I'd wake up in the middle of the night, feeling like someone was standing next to the bed. Once I swore I saw a shadow move across the nursery camera, but when I looked again, it was gone. I kept trying to convince myself it was all in my head. Grief can mess with people. I knew that. I'd read about it, but it still didn't explain. What happened the next night? I was in the nursery folding baby clothes. Kara was in the shower. Jamie was already asleep in his crib. I reached down to pick up a sock. When I stood up, the mobile above the crib was spinning. It shouldn't have been. There was no wind, no air moving. I stared at it. The tiny animals, the elephant, the lion, the giraffe, were spinning fast. Click, click, click. I didn't touch it. I stepped back, confused. Then it stopped. Just like that. No slowing down. It just stopped. I walked out of the room and didn't tell Kara. The next day, I found one of Jamie's stuffed toys on the floor. A little blue bear. But it wasn't near the crib where he usually dropped it. It was by the closet door. I checked the monitor's recording again. Nothing. I even played it back frame by frame. No movement, no sound. I asked Kara, "Did you move the bear?" She looked confused. "No, why?" I shook my head. No reason, but deep down, I felt it again. Like something was trying to get my attention. Or worse, something was trying to get to Jamie. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about my brother, about the accident. He was hit by a drunk driver. It happened fast. 1 second he was texting me, the next he was gone. I never got to say goodbye, never even saw his body. It was a closed casket, just a photo on top of a box. I started wondering, what if he never left? What if part of him stayed behind? What if he was trying to tell me something now, through the monitor, through the baby's room? Or maybe it wasn't him at all. Maybe something else was using his voice. I didn't know what to believe anymore. All I knew was this. Every night, the nursery felt colder, and I didn't want to be the only one who noticed. It happened at 3:13 a.m. I remember the time exactly because I looked straight at the clock when I heard the sound. The baby monitor turned on by itself. I didn't touch it. Kara was asleep beside me. The monitor screen lit up all of a sudden, casting a weird glow across the room. At first, I just heard static, then the soft hum of the baby's white noise machine. I reached for it, thinking maybe Jamie had woken up. But then I heard it. A voice, not a whisper this time. Not broken or fuzzy. It was clear and it said my name. "Hey," it said, "it's me." I froze. The voice, it sounded exactly like my brother. Same tone, same soft way of speaking. My stomach dropped. I held the monitor close to my ear. "Don't let him in," the voice said next. "Whatever you do, don't let him in." Then silence. I sat straight up in bed. I didn't even look at Kara. I was too focused on the screen. Jamie was still asleep in his crib. Nothing moved, no crying, just the usual quiet. Then I heard it, a creak, the sound of the nursery door opening. Slow, long, loud. I jumped out of bed. The hallway was dark. I didn't stop to turn on the light. I ran straight to Jamie's room. The nursery door was now open all the way. I know I had left it cracked. I stepped inside. The air felt different. Heavier. Jamie was asleep, just like I saw on the monitor. But I looked around the room, fast every corner, every shadow, No one was there. I checked the closet, still closed. Under the crib, nothing. I whispered, "Hello." No answer, but I swear, just for a second, I felt something near me. Like someone had just left the room a second before I walked in. I stood still and listened. No sound, not even the white noise. I walked over to Jamie, put my hand on his back. He was warm, breathing fine. I leaned down and kissed his head. Then I slowly backed out of the room and shut the door. Not all the way, just like before. When I got back to the bedroom, Kara rolled over. "You okay?" she mumbled. "Yeah," I said. "Just checking on him." She didn't say anything else. She went right back to sleep. I didn't. I sat up in bed for hours, holding the monitor, staring at the screen, waiting for that voice again, but it never came. Still, I couldn't shake what it said. "Don't let him in." Who was he? Was it a warning or a trick? Was that really my brother, or something pretending to be him? The next morning, I didn't tell Kara anything. I just held Jamie a little longer than usual. That night changed everything. After that, I stopped, thinking I was just tired. I stopped blaming stress. I knew the truth now. Someone or something was trying to talk to me, and it was using my brother's voice to do it. After hearing the voice again, I needed proof. I needed to know if I was losing my mind or if something real was happening. So I set up a recorder. It was an old digital one I had from college. I placed it right next to the baby monitor on the dresser. I hit record, turned off the lights, and left the room. That night, nothing strange happened. The monitor stayed quiet. No voices, no whispers. Just the normal sound of Jamie breathing in his sleep. The next morning, I checked the recording. I sat on the couch with headphones and played it back from the start. For a long time, it was just white noise. Then, around 2:30 a.m., I heard something. A whisper. It was low and shaky. I couldn't tell what it said, but it was there. Someone speaking into the monitor. Too soft to understand. But it wasn't Jamie, and it wasn't me. I played that part over and over again. My hands were shaking a little. I saved the file and labeled it Night 1. The next night, I kept the recorder in the same place. Again, nothing strange during the night. Jamie slept fine, but the next morning, the recording was worse. It had more whispers. Some of them came in short bursts, a few seconds long, but one was louder, and I could understand it. It said, "Play with me like before." It sounded like a child's voice, a boy, but not Jamie. My heart dropped because I remembered that sentence. My brother used to say that when we were kids, right before bedtime. He'd knock on my door and say, "Play with me like before." I hadn't heard that phrase in over 20 years. There was no way that could be on the monitor. No way, unless it was him or something pretending to be him. I didn't tell Kara. I didn't want her to panic, but I kept the recorder running each night, and every time the whispers got worse. One night, around 3 a.m., the voice said something that made my skin crawl. "He's watching, behind the glass." I hit pause and replayed it. Same words, same voice. I looked up at the nursery window. It was shut, just like always. I walked into the room and stared at it. The curtains were pulled halfway open. The glass showed my reflection, just me. I took a step closer, still just me, but then for 1 second, only one, I saw another face next to mine in the glass. not behind me, not outside, inside. The reflection, it was pale, too pale, and smiling. But when I blinked, it was gone. I turned fast. Nothing was behind me. Nothing in the closet. Nothing under the crib. But the recorder was still going. I pressed stop. I didn't sleep at all that night. In the morning, Kara asked why I looked so tired. I said, "I think I'm remembering stuff wrong." She didn't push me. She just nodded. But I knew better. This wasn't my memory. It was his. Or maybe it was both of ours. And now, something else was remembering it too. I never liked the closet in Jamie's room. It was small and deep, with an old wooden door that didn't shut right. When we moved in, I stuck a chair in front of it and left it alone. We didn't use it. We didn't need to, but one night, I noticed something strange. The closet door was cracked open. I was rocking Jamie to sleep when I saw it, just a few inches. I didn't hear it open. I was sure I had left it shut. I walked over and closed it again, pushed hard until it clicked. I didn't think much of it at the time. The next night, it was open again. This time, wider. I stood there, for a second, just staring at it. I walked over slowly, pulled the door open all the way, and I saw a box sitting inside. A cardboard box, about the size of a shoebox. No dust on it. It looked like it had just been put there. I knelt down and pulled it out. There was no name on top. No tape. Just a box sitting in the back of a closet we didn't use. I opened it, and my heart dropped. Inside were things I hadn't seen in years. Things that belonged to my brother. A crayon drawing of our backyard. A small toy car, red, chipped. On the sides, the one he used to carry everywhere. A folded note, written in his handwriting. I didn't even have to open it. I knew it was his. I would recognize it anywhere. At the bottom of the box was a cassette tape. A black one, no case. Just a white label on it, in red marker. It said, "Do not listini." Sat there on the floor, holding the tape in my hand. My hands were sweating. My chest felt tight. I whispered, "What is this?" I didn't remember ever seeing this box before. Not when we moved in. Not when we packed up the old apartment. I knew I didn't bring it. Kara didn't either. We don't even own a cassette player. I pulled out the folded note. There was only one line written on it. "You said you'd keep me safe." That's what I used to say to him when we were little. Whenever I was scared at night, he'd sit by my bed and say, "Nothing's gonna get you. I'm here," and I'd answer, "Promise you'll keep me safe." This was his handwriting. There was no doubt. But how did this box get here? Why was it in the nursery? And how long had it been sitting in that closet? I stood up fast and turned. Around Dodd, Jamie was still asleep. I put the box back inside, shut the closet, and shoved the chair in front of it again. I didn't tell Kara I didn't sleep. The next morning, I checked the closet again. The chair had moved a little, not much, just a few inches, but I hadn't touched it. I pulled open the door. The box was still there, so was the tape. I didn't listen to it. Not yet, but I couldn't stop thinking about what was on it, or why my brother left it for me. I couldn't stop thinking about the tape. It stayed in the closet for 2 nights. I didn't touch it. I didn't even look at the box again, but I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard my brother's voice in my head. Not like a memory, more like it was still there, just waiting for me to press play. On the 3rd night, I gave in. I didn't tell Kara. She had taken Jamie to her sister's for the evening. I was alone in the house. It was the perfect time. I found an old tape recorder in a bin of junk we hadn't unpacked yet. I wasn't even sure it worked. But when I popped the cassette in and hit play, the little wheels started spinning. The sound that came out was just static at first, loud and sharp. I turned the volume down and sat on the edge of the bed, holding the recorder in both hands. I waited, then I heard it. A voice, small, soft, a kid's voice, my brother's voice. "Hey, if you're hearing this." I guess I didn't. "Make it," he said. I froze. His voice was clear, but it sounded nervous, like he was scared while recording. He kept talking. "I don't know where I am. It's dark. It's not like they said it would be. I thought there'd be light." There was a long pause, just breathing. Then he comes at night. He wears my face. My heart started racing. "What does that mean?" I whispered. The voice on the tape kept going. "Don't let him talk to you. Don't believe what he says. He'll sound like me, but he's not me." The static got louder. The tape crackled and popped. Then his voice came back, faster, panicked. "You have to listen. He's not outside. He's in the house. He comes through the screens. He watches through the glass." He banged. The sound made me jump. It was from the recorder. Something slammed on the tape, like a door. Then the voice came back, screaming, "He's here. Don't trust his face." Then click. The tape stopped by itself. I just sat there, holding the recorder, shaking, and then the baby monitor turned on by itself. I hadn't touched it. The screen lit up. Jamie's crib was empty. He wasn't there. But I knew he wasn't even home. Then the sound came through. Not a voice. Not my brother breathing. Deep, slow, wrong. Like something was trying to pretend it was alive. I walked to the monitor and picked it up. My hands were sweating. "Hello," I said. The breathing stopped. Then something whispered back, but it wasn't a voice. It was a sound I can't explain, like something dragging itself across the floor, right into the speaker. I dropped the monitor and backed away. The closet door behind me creaked open. I didn't look. I just ran downstairs, out of the house, stayed in my car until the sun came up. It was just after 3 a.m. when I woke up. I didn't know why at first. The room was quiet. Kara was asleep next to me. The baby monitor was on, sitting right beside the bed. I reached over and looked at the screen. Jamie was in his crib, lying on his back. He wasn't crying, just sleeping like normal. But something felt wrong. I stared at the screen a little longer. That's when I saw it. There was something else in the crib. At first, I thought maybe it was just a blanket or stuffed toy. Something bunched up beside him, but then it moved. Slowly, something curled up next to. Jamie was turning over. I leaned closer to the monitor. It looked like a child, small, thin, lying right next to my son. I sat up fast. What the hell? Kara didn't move. She was still asleep. I kept staring. The figure moved again. It pushed up on its hands and started to lift its head. That's when I saw its face, and I stopped breathing. It looked like my brother, but not the way I remembered him. This face was older, wrong, too long, like it had been stretched. The skin looked grey, and the eyes were black. No whites, just full black, like holes. It looked straight into the camera, straight at me. I dropped the monitor. I didn't say anything. I just jumped out of bed and ran. I don't even remember touching the stairs. I just remember bursting into Jamie's room and flipping on the light. The crib was there. Jamie was crying, but he was alone. I ran to him, picked him up fast, held him close. I looked around the room, no sign of anything else. No one, no open closet, open window, nothing. I checked under the crib. I checked behind the door. The chair I had shoved against the closet was still there. Everything looked normal, but I knew what I saw. I looked at the monitor. It was off, completely off. No screen, no light. I hadn't turned it off. I held Jamie tighter and backed out of the room. My hands were shaking. I didn't even try to explain it to Kara. What would I say? I just saw our dead son's uncle lying in the crib with him. No, I knew she wouldn't believe me. Maybe I didn't believe it myself, but I saw his face. Not a memory, not a dream. He looked right at me, and those eyes, I'd never seen anything like that before. That thing, whatever it was, wasn't my brother. It was wearing his face, and now it knew I could see it. I don't know what's real anymore. Ever since I saw that face in the crib, I haven't been the same. I can't sleep. I can't think straight. I keep checking on Jamie every hour. I sit up at night and watch the monitor, waiting for something to happen, and something always does. Some nights, the monitor turns on by itself. Other nights, it stays off, but I still hear his voice, my brother's voice, soft, close. He says things like, "Don't forget me. You said you'd protect me." He's getting closer. Sometimes the voice sounds scared. Sometimes it sounds angry. And every night, around 3 a.m., Jamie wakes up crying. Not a normal cry, a panicked one. Like he's terrified. I rush in, pick him up, hold him close. The moment I take him out of the crib, he stops. The room always feels wrong. Like someone else was just there. Like I just missed them a few nights ago. I saw something move in the hallway. It was quick, just a shadow, but it didn't feel like a trick of the light. I followed it. There was no one there, but I heard footsteps behind me. I turned fast. "Nothing," I whispered. "Is it you?" No answer that night. I sat on the floor of Jamie's room and tried to remember everything I could about my brother. How he used to laugh at dumb jokes. How he always looked out for me when we were kids. One night, when I was little, I had a bad dream. He came into my room and stayed until I fell asleep. I asked him, "What if something ever happens to you?" He said, "If anything ever happens, I'll still find a way to watch over you. I promise." I hadn't thought about that in years, but now, maybe he meant it. Maybe that's what he's doing, trying to help me, trying to protect Jamie. But then, I keep thinking, from what? What is he warning me about? Is it the thing that wears his face? Is it already inside the house? Or worse, inside? Jamie's room. Sometimes, when I hold Jamie, he stares at something behind me. His eyes go wide. He stops blinking. His little hand reaches up, like he sees something I don't. When I turn around, there's nothing there, but I feel it, a weight. A presence, like someone is always watching. Maybe my brother is still here. Maybe he's caught between two places. Maybe he's trying to fight something off. Something that doesn't belong here. But lately, I've started to wonder, is he still the one watching me? Or am I the one being watched? I don't know anymore. The voice comes every night now. Sometimes it's soft, like a whisper under the bed. Sometimes it's loud screaming through the monitor. Don't forget me, don't forget me. I won't, but I'm starting to forget which voice is his and which one I send. The baby monitor stopped working a week ago. One night, it just shut off. No warning, no beep, just dead. No screen, no sound, no static, nothing. At first I thought maybe the battery died. I plugged it in, still nothing. I bought a new one the next day. Same brand, same model, it wouldn't turn on either. That's when I knew something was done with it. The house feels different now. It's quieter, not peaceful, just heavy. Like it's waiting. Kara doesn't notice. She thinks I'm tired. She's not. Wrong. I barely sleep anymore. Every night, I wake up at the same time. 3:13 a.m. Always. I don't set an alarm. I don't want to wake up, but I still do. And when I do, I always feel like someone's standing by the bedroom door. I don't look anymore. Once, I did that. There was no one there, but I swear I heard breathing, slow, deep, too close. The worst part, that voice still comes back sometimes. Even without the monitor, I'll be brushing my teeth, or feeding Jamie, or turning off the lights, and I'll hear it behind me. My name, just my name, soft.com, like my brother used to say it. But when I turn around, no one's there. A few nights ago, I was rocking Jamie to sleep. The room was quiet. The closet was closed. The box was gone, or at least it should have been. I locked it inside a chest in the basement. Heavy chain. 3 padlocks. I haven't touched the tape since I played it, but I still think about it. Every day, I remember how scared his voice sounded. I remember how it ended. Don't trust his face. I don't know what that meant. Maybe he was warning me. Maybe he was trying to protect me. But maybe it wasn't him. Maybe it never was. Maybe something used his voice to get in, used my grief, used my guilt, and now it's here. Sometimes I hear footsteps on the baby monitor, even though it's unplugged. I check the screen, it's black, but I can hear them. Sometimes I hear Jamie laugh when no one is with him. Once, I walked past his room and heard him say, "Uncle," like he was talking to someone. He can't even say full sentences yet. When I walked in, he was pointing at the closet. It was closed, but I still checked, nothing inside. I picked him up and said, "Who were you talking to?" He just smiled and whispered, He's hiding." I didn't sleep that night. I just sat in the hallway, holding Jamie, watching the nursery door, waiting for it to open on its own. It dead in single quotes. Not that time, but I know it will again. This house, this room, this thing, it's not done. I don't know if my brother was really trying to help me, or if I just wanted that to be true. All I know is something got in, and now it won't leave. I checked my security camera footage. I haven't slept in days. Most people check their cameras out of caution. But what he saw made him afraid to sleep, because someone or something was watching him first. I live alone in a small house at the edge of town. Nothing fancy. One floor, a tiny porch, and woods behind it. Quiet place. That's why I moved here. It was a Thursday night, around 11 p.m. I was on the couch watching a dumb movie I didn't even like. I was half asleep when something caught my eye through the window. The porch light was flickering, not just once or twice. It blinked fast, like someone was flipping the switch on and off, over and over again. At first, I thought maybe the bulb was loose, or maybe a moth flew too close. But then it stopped, just like that. 1 second it was going crazy, and the next, it was steady again. I got up, walked over to the door, and peeked outside. The porch was empty. No wind, no bugs. Just my little welcome mat and the wooden steps leading down into the yard. I mumbled, weird, and closed the door. About an hour later, I went to bed. I brushed my teeth, turned off the lights, and crawled under the covers. I left the porch light on, like always. I sleep better knowing it's lit. Sometime after midnight, I heard something. It wasn't loud, it was soft, like a slow scratching sound right near the front door. Long and quiet, like someone was dragging their nails across the wood. SSSHH. SSHHH. I sat up in bed. My heart started beating faster. I stayed still, listening. I thought maybe it was the wind or a branch, but it didn't sound like that. It was too slow, too close. I got out of bed and tiptoed toward the front door. I didn't turn on the lights. I just stood there in the dark, listening. The scratching had stopped. I waited a minute, maybe two. Then I whispered to myself, "Don't be stupid. Probably nothing." I unlocked the door and opened it just a crack. The porch was empty. Nothing on the steps. Nothing in the yard. Just the porch light glowing above me. No flickering this time. Still, something felt off, like someone had just been there. I stepped outside and looked around. There were no footprints, no signs of anything. But when I turned to go back in, I noticed something small, The welcome mat was crooked. Not a lot, but just enough to make me pause. I always keep it straight. That's when I remembered the box in the garage. When I first moved in, the old owner left behind a few things. One of them was a basic security camera kit, the kind with 2 wired cameras and a small screen. I never bothered setting it up, but now it felt like a good idea. I grabbed a flashlight and went into the garage. Found the box on a shelf, covered in dust. It still had all the parts. The cameras, cables, power cords, everything. It looked old, but it wasn't broken. I spent the next hour setting it up. One camera went above the porch. The other I kept for later. I plugged the screen in and tested it. The feed worked. I could see the porch in black and white. A little grainy, but clear enough. I sat back on the couch and stared at the monitor for a while, just to make sure everything was working. Nothing moved. No flickers. No scratching. Around 2 a.m., I finally turned everything off and went to bed. But before I fell asleep, I remember thinking something strange. Why would a light flicker like that for no reason? And what was that sound? I didn't have answers, but I told myself it was probably just my imagination. I didn't know yet that this was only the beginning. The next night, I sat on the couch and watched the little screen from the porch camera. It felt silly at first. Nothing ever happens out there. I kept thinking, why am I even doing this? But I couldn't stop looking at the feed. Just black and white video of my porch. Nothing moving, nothing weird. Still, something about it made me nervous. I couldn't explain why. I left the camera running all night and went to bed around midnight. The next morning, I checked the recording. I fast-forwarded through most of it. Just hours of an empty porch. Nothing showed up. The light stayed on. The steps were quiet. Then, at 2:13 a.m., the screen went fuzzy. Not a little bit, full static. The whole feed turned into a mess of black and white lines, like when an old TV loses signal. It lasted about 3 minutes. Then it cleared up at 2:16 a.m. and everything looked normal again. I paused the video. Maybe the cable came loose, I thought. I got up and checked the wires. They were fine. Nothing was unplugged. Nothing was damaged. That night, I watched the live feed again. I kept checking the clock. When it hit to 13, I stared at the screen. Just like before, the video started to break up. The porch turned to static. I couldn't see anything. I sat there, holding my breath. I didn't move. At 2:16, the picture came back. Porch was empty again. My chest felt tight. I didn't like it. I whispered to myself, what the hell is that? Stayed up another hour, hoping it would happen again, but nothing did. The next day, I tried something. I rewound the footage to 2:13 and played it in slow motion. Frame by frame, it didn't show anything clear, just flashes of static. But in one frame, just one, there was something in the corner. A shape. Could have been anything. Could have been anything. Been a trick of the light. But it looked like something was standing at the edge of the porch. No face, no color, just a dark outline, half hidden in the blur. I blinked and played it again. This time, it wasn't there. The screen glitched and skipped over the frame like it didn't want me to see it. I stared at the screen for a long time. My heart was beating fast, but I told myself it was nothing. Probably just a bug or a shadow. I said out loud, trying to feel better, I didn't. I told myself it was just a glitch. The camera was old. The screen was old. The wires were probably bad, but I knew something wasn't right. Every night after that, the same thing happened. 2:13 to 2:16. Static. Never sooner. Never later. Same time. Same mess of lines. Every time I looked, I saw nothing clear. But I always felt something was there. I thought about setting up the second camera. The one I hadn't used yet. But I didn't know where to put it. Nothing had happened anywhere else. Just the porch. Just those 3 minutes. I stopped sleeping well. I'd wake up, check the screen, rewind the footage, and stare at the static like it held a secret. I didn't know what I was looking for. I just knew something was wrong with those 3 minutes. And whatever it was starting to notice me too. After a few nights of static at 2:13 a.m., I started recording every single night. I kept the footage on a USB drive and backed it up. I told myself I just wanted to figure out what was wrong with the camera. But that wasn't true. I wanted to catch something. I didn't know what. I just had this weird feeling like something was showing up, and I just wasn't fast enough to see it. So one night, I stayed up and went through the footage, frame by frame. It was boring at first. A lot of still porch, same old steps, same dead plants in the corner. Then 2:13 hit. Static started again. I slowed it down, played it one frame at a time. For the first 10 seconds, it was just noise, black and white snow. But then, around 2:14, I saw it just for a split second. I froze. There was a shape standing at the edge of the porch. I leaned in closer. My face was almost touching the screen. It was blurry, not clear at all, but it was there. It wasn't a shadow. It wasn't a bug. It was too big for that. It looked like a person, or something close to a person. I could see a head, shoulders, arms. The figure was just standing there, facing the camera, but it didn't look right. It was crooked, like its body was tilted a little too far, like it couldn't stand the way a person should. My hand started shaking on the mouse. I clicked back one frame. It was gone. Clicked forward again. There it was, but this time the image flickered. The player glitched hard. The screen turned black for a second. No, 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 I whispered. I hit pause. Nothing happened. The screen stayed black. Then the player just crashed. Everything froze. I stared at the screen. My mouse wouldn't move. The keyboard wasn't working. The whole thing locked up. I waited, not sure what to do. My stomach felt tight. I could hear my own heartbeat. After about 30 seconds, the monitor turned off completely, just black eye. Pulled the plug and restarted everything. When the system came back on, I went back to the file, reopened the footage, fast-forwarded to 2:14. The static was still there, but the shape, it was gone. The exact frame that showed the figure. It skipped over it like it didn't exist anymore, like it had deleted itself. I watched that section 10 times, every time. It jumped past that one part. No pause, no freeze, just static, then back to normal. I checked the timestamp, 2 hours, 14 minutes, and 3 seconds. I wrote it down. Then I checked every night before and after that one. Every single file, same thing. Static at 2:13. Clean again by 2:16. But that night, the only time I saw anything, and the video player had freaked out. The second I paused on it, I sat back and stared at the screen for a long time. I didn't move. That shape, Whatever it was, I know I saw it, and it was looking right at the camera. I kept thinking, why did it vanish when I paused? Why that exact second? And the worst thought hit me next. What if it knew I was watching? After that night, I started leaving every light on in the house. Even when I tried to sleep, I left the TV on. I kept the porch camera feed playing on a second monitor in my bedroom. I couldn't stop checking the time. Every night at 2:13, I stared at that screen, waiting for the static, and hoping I wouldn't see that shape again. I woke up around 7 a.m., my mouth was dry, and my head felt heavy. I hadn't slept well. I didn't sleep well any night anymore. I walked into the hallway and stopped. The front door was open. Not wide open, just a crack. But it was open enough that I could see light coming in and feel the morning air. I stood still and stared at it. I always locked the door at night. Always my heart started beating fast. I walked over slowly and pulled it shut. The lock was turned to open. Not broken, not forced, just unlocked. I whispered, "No way." I stood there, thinking maybe I was tired the night before. Maybe I forgot to lock it, but I knew I hadn't. I sat down on the couch and turned. On the camera monitor, my hands were shaking. I loaded the footage from last night. Same thing as before, nothing until 2:13 a.m. Then, static. I leaned forward, watching closely. At 2:14, something appeared on the screen. The shape, but this time, it wasn't standing at the edge of the porch. It was right in front of the door. It didn't move. It just stood there, like it was waiting. The shape was clearer now. Still blurry, still hard to see. But it was definitely taller than me. Its arms were too long. It looked like its head was tilted to the side, like it was listening. It faced the door directly. I paused the footage. The shape didn't have a face, not a mask, not a hood, just nothing. Like that part of it was missing or smudged out. I kept watching. The camera feed glitched again, just like before, and the screen turned to full static. Then, for 1 second, the video returned. The door was slightly open. I felt sick. I grabbed the remote and rewound it, right before the static. I saw the shape lean forward, like it was sniffing the door. Then it cut out. No sound, no clear action. But when the feed came back, the door was open. The shape was gone. I ran to the door and checked everything. The lock wasn't broken. There were no scratches, no dirt, no footprints, nothing. It was like no one had ever been there. But the footage didn't lie. Something had stood there. Something had been close, closer than ever before, and now it knew how to open the door. I backed away and sat down, staring at the screen again. I whispered, "This isn't a glitch." I looked at the time, 2:14 a.m. That's always when it comes. That's when the static starts. That's when the door opens. I felt like something was changing. Like the thing I saw on the screen wasn't just watching anymore. It was getting closer, and soon it might come inside. After I saw the front door open on the footage, I couldn't stop thinking about it. That thing had been right there. It knew where the camera was. It knew how to get in. I had one more camera I hadn't used yet. It was still in the box. I took it out and walked to the back of the house. My backyard is small and empty. Just dead grass and a few trees at the edge before it turns into woods. There's one window that looks out back. It's in the hallway between the kitchen and the bedroom. I decided to mount the second camera just above that window, pointing toward the yard. I ran the wires along the wall and plugged it into the same monitor as the porch feed. Now I had both angles, front and back. I told myself it was just for safety, just in case. But really, I was scared that night. I left both cameras running. I didn't sleep. I sat on the couch with the screen in front of me. On one side was the front porch. On the other side was the backyard. Hours passed. Nothing happened. Then 2:13 a.m. hit. Static started on the front camera. Same as always, but the back camera stayed clear at first. I thought maybe the shape wasn't coming this time. Then, at 2:14, I saw movement in the backyard. My eyes went straight to the screen. Something was. There it came from the trees. It wasn't walking, it was gliding. No steps, no sound, just floating over the grass, slow and smooth. My mouth went dry. It looked taller now, thinner. The arms hung low at its sides, like they didn't move right, like they didn't bend. It slid forward, getting closer to the house. I leaned closer to the monitor. The thing stopped right under the camera, right below the back window. It didn't look around, it didn't move. It just looked up, straight into the lens, straight at me. Even though it had no face, I felt like it could see me, like it knew I was there, watching. My heart pounded in my ears. I couldn't breathe. I whispered, "What do you want?" The figure didn't answer, didn't move. Then, right when the clock turned to 16 a.m., the back camera cut to black dot. Not static, not noise, just total darkness. The porch camera came back online a few seconds later. It showed nothing, just an empty porch, but the back feed stayed black. I ran to the window and looked out. I couldn't see anything, no shape, no movement, but I didn't feel alone. I closed the curtain and stepped away from the glass. Then I unplugged the back camera and plugged it in again. Still nothing. No feed. No light. It was like it had been shut off on purpose. I sat on the floor, holding the wire in my hand. I didn't speak. I didn't cry. I just sat there, staring at the screen. That thing, it knew where the camera was. It came from the woods, moved straight to it, and looked up like it was staring straight into me, like it wanted me to see it. And now, it had killed the feed. I kept thinking, if it knows where the back camera is, does it know where the window is too? Does it know where I sleep? I don't sleep much anymore. I stay up every night watching the cameras. I don't even try to rest. What's the point? Every night, something happens. I started recording both cameras again, even though the back one keeps going black. I checked the footage the next morning, frame by frame, second by second. I look for anything strange. A flicker, a shadow, a shape. Most nights, it's just the same static. But one night, it was different. It started like usual. Around 2:13 a.m., the porch feed got fuzzy. I leaned forward and paused it. I played it in slow motion. Then something stepped into view. At first, I thought it was the same figure from before. But then I froze. It was me, same clothes I wore that night, same face, same height. I stared at the screen, not breathing. The person on the screen stood still in the middle of the porch. The porch light made their face easy to see. Too easy, it looked just like me. But it wasn't me, because I was inside. I hadn't stepped outside at all. I hadn't moved from my chair. I felt sick. The other me just stood there, staring into the camera, not blinking, not breathing. And then it smiled. but it wasn't a normal smile. It was slow, stretched too wide, like the skin on its face didn't fit right. I whispered, "What the hell?" I pressed pause. The face on the screen stayed frozen, still smiling that awful smile. I rewound the footage, played it again, same thing. I looked at the time, 2 hours, 14 minutes, and 27 seconds, AM. The smile stayed for about 6 seconds. Then the video glitched hard. The screen turned black for a moment and came back. When it returned, the porch was empty again. No one there, just the steps, the mat, the light. I sat there, staring at the screen. My hands were cold. I kept looking at the time. I checked my phone, looked at my camera feed. I was still inside the whole time. I hadn't moved. I said out loud, "That wasn't me." My voice sounded small. I went to the front door. It was still locked. I even checked the outside camera, live this time. Nothing there, but the footage didn't lie. Something that looked like me had been standing out there, staring into the lens. I don't know how long I stood there. I couldn't stop thinking about the way it smiled, like it knew. I was watching, like it was happy. I saw it. That's what scared me the most. It didn't try to get in. It didn't move. It just stood there, smiling like it was waiting. Waiting for what? I don't know. But it looked patient. And that face, it wasn't mine. It looked like me, but the eyes were too wide. The skin looked pulled too tight, like something was wearing me as a mask. That night, I unplugged the porch camera. I didn't want to look anymore, but now I'm more scared of what I won't see. After I saw myself on the porch, I knew I had to tell someone. I didn't care. If it sounded crazy, I needed someone else to see it too. I called my friend Dan the next morning. I said, "I recorded something weird. I need you to watch it. Tell me I'm not losing my mind." He came over that afternoon. I loaded the footage on a flash drive and plugged it into my laptop. I played the clip from the night before to 14 AM. The screen was clear. No static, just the porch. No shape, no copy of me, nothing. I blinked, double quotes, no wait. I it and played it again. Still nothing, just an empty porch. Dan looked at me. "What are we supposed to be seeing?" "There was something there," I said. "It looked like me. It smiled. It stood right there." He raised an eyebrow. "You sure you weren't dreaming?" I opened the original file on the camera system. Itself the same clip I watched before, but even that one looked different now. No static, no figure, just normal video. I sat back, confused. Dan laughed a little. "Dude, maybe you need sleep." I didn't answer. He left a few minutes later. He tried to make a joke about it. Said something like, "If your evil twin shows up again, tell him I said hi." I didn't laugh that night. I didn't sleep. I didn't even try. I just sat on the couch, staring at the monitor at 2:14 AM. The porch feed stayed clear, but I heard something. A whisper. It came from inside the house, soft, quick, like someone saying something under their breath, too low to understand. I turned around fast. Nothing was there. I walked through every room, checked every window, every door, nothing. I even checked outside, just to be sure. The porch was empty. But as I stood there, I felt like something was watching me. Not from the yard, from inside. I stepped back in and shut the door. I whispered, "Leave me alone." I didn't know who I was talking to. I checked the camera footage the next morning, but the sound wasn't there. The system didn't record audio. I tried to copy the file again. Thought maybe I could catch the smile, the static, something. But now, every time I transfer a file, it turns up blank, or corrupted, or the timestamp is wrong. One video said it was recorded at 3:47 a.m., but I didn't even record anything at that time. Another file said 1969. Nothing makes sense anymore. I don't trust the system. I don't trust what I'm seeing, but I still check. Every night, even when nothing shows up, I know something is near. I feel it. At 2:14 a.m. every night, I hear the whisper again. Always the same tone, always the same moment. It's like it's saying my name. I've stopped talking to people. No one believes me. If I show them the footage, it looks normal. If I try to explain, they laugh or get uncomfortable. So I stop trying. I don't sleep. I barely eat. I just sit in this house, waiting for that time, waiting to see if it shows up again. Because I know what I saw, even if no one else does. That night, I told myself I wasn't going to blink. I wasn't going to move. I was going to watch the screen from midnight until after 2:14 a.m. I made coffee. I turned off all the lights except the glow of the monitors. The house felt tight, like the walls were listening. I sat in my chair, staring at both camera feeds. The porch, the backyard, both were empty. It was 1:42 a.m. I kept checking the time. My legs were shaking. My mouth was dry. 2 a.m. Still nothing. 2:10 a.m. I leaned forward, eyes wide. Every sound made me jump. The fridge, the floor creaking, my own breathing. Then 2:13 the porch camera started flickering again. Static. As always, I stared at it, ready to pause if anything appeared. But then something strange happened. The backyard camera was still off. Black screen. But right before 2:14 a.m., something blinked on the third feed. The one inside the house. I had a small extra camera I'd plugged in days ago. I pointed it at myself, just to test things. I never really used it. Now it was on. The feed showed me, sitting at my desk, watching the screens. But then, something stepped into frame behind me. It wasn't me. It was tall, thin, same shape I'd seen before, same body, long arms. But now it was inside. It stood just a few feet behind me, its head tilted to one side, like it was studying me. I didn't feel anything. I didn't hear it. I had no idea it was even there. I watched myself on the screen, still staring ahead, completely unaware. The thing leaned forward, like it was about to whisper into my ear. I jumped up from my chair so fast, I knocked over the table. The monitors shook. One of them hit the ground. I turned around. Nothing was there. I looked everywhere. Behind me, under the table. In the hallway, nothing, but I felt it. Like something had just been there. Like it had been right next to me. I looked at the chair I'd been sitting in. I touched the backrest. It was warm. I backed away from it slowly. Then I looked at the monitor again. The figure was gone. The inside camera feed was still working, but it showed only me now, standing there, staring at the screen. I rewound the footage. I watched it again. 2:14 a.m. It appeared behind me. It stayed there for 12 seconds. Then the screen glitched, just like the porch camera always did. Static. Then it was gone. I didn't know what to say. I didn't even feel scared anymore. I felt sick. It had been inside the whole time, and I had no idea. It was watching me from inches away. It could have touched me, it could have done anything, but it didn't. It just stood there, like it wanted me to know it could be there, and I wouldn't even notice. I sat on the floor and pulled my knees up. My ears were ringing. My hands were ice cold. I whispered, "How long has it been coming in?" I don't know the answer. All I know is I never heard the door, no footsteps, no breath, just the feed, just that moment, and the warm chair. Now I check all the cameras, not just the porch, not just the yard, every room, every hallway, because if it's been inside once, it can come back anytime it wants. I don't know what time it is anymore. I haven't slept in days. Every time I close my eyes, I see static. Just like the screen, I see my own face smiling, but it's not me. It's never really me. I threw out the cameras, every single one. I ripped them off the walls, smashed the monitor, broke the hard drive with a hammer. It didn't help. I still see the footage in my head, on the backs of my eyelids. When I blink, I see quick flashes: my porch, my hallway, the figure standing behind me. I've unplugged everything. The lights flicker anyway. At night, I hear it. Footsteps above me, in the attic, then under the floor, then in the walls. It moves slowly. Scrapes, drags, clicks. Sometimes it taps, like it's waiting for me to answer. I tried calling someone. Police came once. I told them someone was in the attic. They checked it. Nothing up there, they said. No signs of entry. Are you taking anything? Medication? No, I said. Just come back at 2:14 a.m. They didn't. I tried showing them the videos. Of course, they were blank, corrupted, glitchy. They left. No one came back. I boarded up the attic hatch. I nailed it shut with 6-inch screws. The next night, I heard it again, scratching, dot from the inside. The boards stayed in place, but the noise didn't stop. I went down into the crawl space under the house. I don't know what I was looking for. Maybe a place it could be hiding, but the space was empty, no holes, no wires out of place, just dust and dirt. But the second I turned to leave, I heard breathing right behind me. I spun around with my flashlight. Nothing but the air felt warm, like someone had just been there. I backed out, shaking my hands. Don't stop shaking now. The mirror in the bathroom fogs up, even when I haven't taken a shower, like someone's breathing on it. Sometimes I see fingerprints, not mine. I wiped them off, they came back. Last night, I saw something worse. I was brushing my teeth when I saw movement in the mirror behind me. Turned around, nothing. Looked back at the mirror, and my reflection didn't move. I dropped the toothbrush and stepped back. The reflection just stood there, grinning. Then the lights flickered, and it was gone. I haven't used the bathroom since. I keep all the mirrors covered now, just in case. I tried sleeping once, just to see if I could. I laid on the floor with every light in the house turned on, closed my eyes instantly. I saw the hallway camera feed, except it wasn't from before, it was live. I was seeing myself lying on the floor, and the figure standing in the doorway, watching me. When I opened my eyes, the door was empty, but I swear I could still feel it watching. That's when I realized something. I used to watch it on the camera, but now it's watching me through the same lens, not through the screen. Maybe through my eyes, maybe through yours. I don't know how it works, I don't know what it wants, but I think it's already here. It doesn't need cameras anymore. It doesn't need wires or screens or timestamps. It's inside. It waits at 2:14 a.m. because it likes to. Because I'll be looking. Because I'll be scared, and now, so will you. You listened to this story. You followed the times, the rules. You looked for the shape. You stared too long, so maybe now it sees you too. And tonight when the clock hits 2:14, listen carefully. You might hear it, a scrape, a breath, a whisper behind the wall. Or maybe, just maybe, you'll see a face that looks like yours, but smiling too wide, and not blinking, and not leaving. Good luck. I got a letter from myself, postmarked 20 years ago. The envelope was dusty. The handwriting was familiar. Inside was a message written by himself 2 decades before it ever arrived. It started with a letter. I wasn't expecting anything. I don't get much mail, just bills, junk, and the occasional ad. But this envelope was different. No return address, no stamp, just my name, written in thick black ink. Not even my full address, just my name and house number. But somehow, it still got delivered. I held it for a minute, staring at it. The paper felt old, dry. The edges were yellow and soft, like it had been sitting somewhere for years. I opened it slowly. Inside was a single sheet of lined paper, folded twice. I unfolded it and froze. It was written in my handwriting. I don't mean it. Looked like I mean it was mine. Same way I write my A's. Same loop in the R's. The weird way I cross my T's too low. And at the bottom, it was signed. My full name. I felt cold all over. I read the letter again. It said, "If you're reading this, then it's already started. You won't remember everything at first. That's normal. Don't trust her. Don't throw this away. Check the closet before midnight. If you wait too long, it will be harder to stop." My full name, that was it. No date, no explanation. I turned the paper over. On the back was a postmark, dated exactly 20 years ago, same month, same day. But the year was 2 decades in the past. I laughed out loud, a short, nervous laugh. "Okay," I said. "Very funny. I thought maybe someone was playing a trick. Maybe a friend. Maybe one of those weird online mystery games. But I couldn't figure out who would go this far." The paper felt real. It smelled old, like it had been sealed away for years, like something from an attic. I stared at the words again. Don't trust her. Who was her? And what closet? My house has 3 closets. One in the hallway, one in my bedroom, and one by the front door. Nothing special about any of them. I stood there in the kitchen, holding the letter, wondering if I should throw it out. But I didn't. I folded it back up and placed it in the drawer next to the sink. I tried to move on with my day. I really did, but I kept thinking about that handwriting. The way it matched mine, exactly. Later that night, I pulled it out again. I studied the postmark, the year, the smudged ink on the corner, the way the fold lines had almost worn through the paper. 20 years ago, I'd thought about where I was 20 years ago. I was a kid. I barely remember anything from then. Then I remembered something strange. When I was about 9, I used to write letters to myself. Stupid things. Future me notes. I'd hide them in books, in drawers, under my mattress. I even remembered writing something like, "If you find this, it means I'm in trouble." Could this be one of those? But this felt different. This wasn't a kid's message. This was serious. The tone was cold, like a warning, like something bad had already happened and couldn't be undone. I read it one more time before bed. Checked the closet before midnight. I looked at the clock. It was 11:52 p.m. I stood up. I don't know why. I did it. Maybe part of me was scared to ignore it. I walked to the hallway closet, the one I use for coats and boxes of junk. I opened the door. Nothing. Nothing. Just boots, an old umbrella, some winter gloves. I shut it. I checked the one by the front door next. Same result, then the bedroom closet. It was dark inside. I didn't turn on the light, but nothing looked strange. Just my clothes. A few storage boxes. I closed it too. I went back to bed and tried to sleep, but I couldn't stop thinking about the last line. If you wait too long, it will be harder to stop. Stop what? And why do I feel like I've done all this before? Didn't plan to look at the letter again, but the next morning it was the first thing I did. I pulled it out of the drawer, unfolded it, and stared at the words. Then I grabbed a pen and wrote the same sentence on a piece of paper. Check the closet before midnight. I set the two papers side by side. It was exactly the same. Same slanted letters. Same way I write the lowercase R with a little hook. Even the spacing between the words matched. I held the pen tighter. I've never shown anyone how I write. I've never posted it anywhere. There's no way someone could copy it this perfectly, unless it really was. Me, I shook my head. No, I said out loud. It's a trick. It has to be. Maybe someone scanned an old letter I wrote. Maybe it's an eye or some weird internet prank. I even checked online to see if I'd written anything like this before. Blog posts, emails, old notebooks. Nothing, but the more I read the letter, the more it sounded like my own voice. Not just the handwriting, the way the sentences were put together. The way it said, "Don't throw this away," like something I would say to myself. It felt too personal, too real. But why would I write a warning to myself? And who was I warning me about? That line kept repeating in my head. Don't trust her. Who is she? I tried to forget about it. I went about my day like normal. I did laundry, scrolled through my phone, watched a movie, but the letter stayed. In my mind the whole time, I kept going back to it in my head. The date, the name, the warning dot. Later that night, around 11:40, I sat on the couch with my phone, and I remembered the line. Check the closet before midnight. I looked at the clock. 11:47 p.m. My stomach turned a little. I didn't want to get up, but I had to. I walked slowly to the hallway closet, opened it, still just boots and jackets. Next, the closet by the door, same. Then my bedroom closet. I opened it a crack and stood there. It was dark inside. I didn't turn on the light. I waited, listening. Nothing. I closed it and backed away. I felt a chill run down my arms. I don't know why. There was nothing in there. Nothing strange. Nothing new. So why did it feel like something new I was looking? I went back to the living room and sat down. I turned on the TV, tried to distract myself, but the feeling didn't go away. It was this weird pressure, like someone was staring at me from across the room, but no one was there. I even checked. I got up, looked around the kitchen, the hallway, the bathroom, no one, but I still felt it. That feeling like you're being watched. I turned off the lights and went to bed. Told myself to stop thinking about it. It's just a dumb letter. Probably a prank. A weird one, but still a prank. But right as I closed my eyes, I thought I heard something. A faint sound, like the soft creak of a door. I sat up, fast, listened. Nothing now, I told myself. I imagined it. But I kept staring at my closet door, and I swear, it looked like it had moved. just a tiny bit. I started noticing small things first. The salt shaker on the table was on the left side instead of the right. I always put it on the right. Always. I thought maybe I moved it and forgot. No big deal, but then it happened again. The next day, my bedroom lamp was facing the wall. I never turn it like that. The remote wasn't where I left it. The bathroom mirror had a fingerprint on it. I live alone. I wiped it off and told myself to stop being weird, but deep down, I was starting to feel like something was off. One night, I was reading through the letter again. I had already read it maybe 10 times, but I kept going back to it, like I missed something. Check the closet before midnight. Don't trust her. The handwriting still gave me chills. The way it matched mine so perfectly. As I sat there, I heard a faint ticking sound. It was coming from the wall clock near the kitchen. I looked over at it. The second hand was moving. Backward, tick, 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 dot 1, 2, 3 seconds. Then it stopped, shook a little, and started moving forward again. I stood up and walked over to it, pulled it down, took out the battery, put it back in. I waited. It kept ticking normally, but I couldn't forget what I saw. That night, I had a hard time sleeping. I kept waking up, feeling like I had forgotten something important. The next morning, I climbed up into the attic. I hadn't been up there in over a year. I was looking for an old box of winter clothes. The air was dusty. It smelled like wood and thyme. I turned on the little pull-string light, and that's when I saw it, sitting right in the center of the floor, like someone had placed it there on purpose. My old stuffed bear, its name was Buddy. I hadn't seen that thing in almost 20 years. It was torn on one side, missing one of the button eyes. I remembered throwing it away when I was a teenager. I even remembered putting it in a trash bag and taking it out to the curb. But here it was, sitting in my attic. I picked it up. My hands were shaking. I didn't know what to think. It was real. I could feel the fabric, the little patch on the back, the way it still smelled faintly like the old house I grew up in. My chest felt tight suddenly. More memories started coming back. Things I hadn't thought about in years. Being in my old room, the closet door that didn't close all the way. Waking up to the sound of whispering. My mum saying it was just the wind, only I knew it wasn't the wind. I remembered having nightmares about someone hiding in my closet. A shape, a face that looked like mine, but stretched too long. It would crouch low and stare at me. Waiting by Mum said I used to sleepwalk. She said I'd wake up standing in front of the closet, just staring. Back then, I believed her, but now I wasn't so sure. I took the bear and went back down. I set it on the couch and sat in front of it. I looked at it for a long time. Then I looked at the letter again. You won't remember everything at first. That's normal, I whispered. What did I forget? The bear just sat there, facing me, and I swear for a second I thought its head was tilted a little more than before. It was 11:58 p.m. when I heard the creak. Not loud, just a slow, dragging sound, like an old door moving on its own. I was sitting on the couch, staring at the TV. The volume was low, but I wasn't really watching. I was waiting. When I heard the sound, I froze. I didn't move at first, just listened. It came again, a soft creak, then silence. I turned off the TV and stood up. My heart started beating faster. I walked down the hallway, step by step, not making a sound. When I reached my bedroom, I saw it. The closet door slightly open, just a few inches. I stopped and stared at it. I never leave that door open, not even a crack. I always make sure it's shut tight before I go to bed. I stood there, staring at the gap. It felt like something was waiting behind it. I took a breath and reached for the knob, pulled the door open. Slowly, the light from the hallway spilled in. Clothes, shoes, boxes. Nothing moved, but then I noticed something new. A small shoebox near the back, tucked under a pile of old sweatshirts. I didn't remember putting it there. I knelt down and pulled it out. The lid wasn't on all the way. Inside was another envelope, yellowed, fragile, like it had been sitting there for a long, long time. I opened it carefully. There was a letter inside, folded twice, and a photograph. I looked at the photo first. It was me, a photo of me as a child, maybe 9 or 10 years old, standing in front of a house I didn't know. It wasn't the house I grew up in. It wasn't this house either. It looked old, run down. One window was boarded up. The grass was dead. But there I was, standing in front of it, smiling. I turned the photo over. Written on the back in shaky handwriting was a date. Tomorrow's date. I checked the calendar on my phone to be sure it matched the letter in the box. Was short. Only a few lines, it said. You've seen the house now. You need to go there. You'll remember more when you're close. Don't wait too long. He's getting stronger. There was no name at the bottom, but the writing, it was my own again. Same handwriting, same small loops in the G's, same crooked E. I sat back on the floor. My chest felt tight. My hands were shaking. Why would there be a photo of me at a place I've never been? Why did someone write a note saying to go there? And who is he? I stared at the picture again. It made my stomach twist. There was something wrong with it, not just the house. Something in the background, in one of the windows. Behind the glass I thought I saw a shape. It was hard to tell, blurry but tall. Too tall. I put the photo down, closed the box, shut the closet door all the way. Then I locked it. I didn't sleep that night. I kept thinking about that house. Why would I go there? Why would I tell myself to Why did the photo look like it was taken tomorrow when it already existed tonight? I couldn't stop thinking about the photo. All night, I stared at it. I zoomed in. I checked the shape in the window. I read the date again and again. Tomorrow, it was tomorrow. When the sun came up, I didn't feel rested. My head hurt. My eyes were sore. But I had one goal: find the house. I opened my laptop and searched everything I could. Old homes in my town, foreclosure listings, abandoned properties. I even looked at satellite maps and street views. For a while, nothing looked right, but then I saw it. It was in a small town, about an hour away. The front porch matched the broken fence. The boarded window, it was the house. And I had never been there before, at least. I didn't think I had. I got in my car and started driving. The closer I got, the worse I felt. Like I was getting pulled into something I didn't understand. Like part of me wanted to turn around, but something else wanted to keep going. When I reached the street, it felt empty. No people, no sound. Just old houses, most of them falling apart. I parked across the street and stared at the house from the photos. Same cracked steps, same dead tree, same peeling paint. I walked up slowly. The front door wasn't locked. It creaked open when I touched. It dot inside. The air was heavy, dry, full of dust. But the second I stepped in, something hit me. A strange feeling, like I had been here before. The hallway, the stairs, even the little cracks in the walls. I walked into the living room. The floorboards groaned under my feet. There was no furniture, just dust and pieces of wood. But I knew the space. It looked like my house. Not exact, but close. Same layout, same shape of the rooms, same spot where the kitchen would be. I walked down the hall and opened a door to the left. A bedroom, empty, except for a broken chair in the corner. I walked to the wall, and that's when I saw it. Scratched into the wall, in uneven letters, was my full name. Not just initials, not something close. My real, complete name. I reached out and touched it. It was real, deep scratches, like done with a knife or something sharp. Right under my name was one more word. Re1, just that. No explanation. No date this time. No message. Just my name. And that word. I backed away. My heart was pounding hard in my chest. Who did this? I whispered. Why? And more than that, when? I turned and left the room. I walked through the rest of the house quickly. Every corner felt familiar, but I couldn't say how. It was like a dream I'd had a long time ago. One I've forgotten till now. I didn't find anything else. No more writing, no more clues. But as I reached the front door to leave, I stopped. The front door was now closed. I didn't remember closing it. I grabbed the knob. It opened easily. I walked out fast, not looking back. As I got in my car, I looked up at the house one last time. Something moved in the upstairs window. I saw it in the corner of my eye. Just a small motion. When I looked straight at it, nothing was there. But I know I saw something. It wasn't just the house that felt familiar. It was the feeling I had while being inside. Like I belonged there. Like part of me had never left. When I got home from the old house, I couldn't stop shaking. I kept thinking about my name carved into that wall. And the word under it, -run, it didn't make sense. None of this did. I walked straight to my bedroom closet. I stood in front of it, just staring at the door. My chest felt tight. Then I opened it, got down on my knees, and started pulling stuff out: shoes, boxers, old clothes. I yanked everything out and tossed it behind me. Something was inside that wall. I could feel it. I went to the garage, grabbed a small hammer, and came back. I looked at the back wall of the closet. Then I hit it. Once, twice, 3 times. The drywall cracked. I pulled away a piece, and behind it I saw something: paper. A bundle of old envelopes, wedged deep into the wall between 2 wooden beams. My heart started pounding. I reached in and pulled them out. My fingers were shaking. Some of the paper crumbled at the edges. A few looked like they had water damage. Others were covered in dust. I sat down and spread them out on the floor, at least 7 letters, each one in my handwriting. I opened the first one. It said, "If you're reading this, then I didn't make it out in time. I hope the next version of me does better." No name, no date, just my writing. The next one was worse. It started, "He's not just in the house, he's in me. I can feel him. My thoughts aren't mine anymore." I dropped it. My stomach turned. Another letter said, "You should have burned the photograph." And another, "Whatever you do, don't go back to the house." One had just 2 lines. "I hear him behind the walls." I think I let him in. I opened the next letter slowly. This one was newer. The paper was cleaner, but the message was worse. It was a suicide note, written in my voice. My style, my spelling, it said. I'm tired of fighting him. I thought I could stop it this time, but I was wrong. I'm sorry. It was signed, my full name dated, March 3rd, 2032. I stared at it for a long time. That date hasn't even happened yet. Some of the letters were dated. 2.1 said 2005, another said 2011, then one with 2020. All of them signed by me, different years, same name, same handwriting, but I don't remember writing any of them. I sat on the floor for a while, surrounded by pieces of my own voice, my own warnings. Each letter felt like a version of me had tried to fix something, tried to stop something, and failed. Were these from different timelines, different lives? Was I trapped in a loop? Was he the one making me forget? Or was it just me, going crazy? I picked up the suicide note again. My hands were still shaking, but this time I noticed something new. A single line at the very bottom, written in tiny print. Check the attic. He hides in the oldest place. I looked up. The ceiling above me was quiet, but now I wasn't sure if it had ever really been empty. It started with a whisper. At first I thought it was the TV. I had it on low while cleaning up, but then I muted it and still heard it. A soft voice from the hallway. I stepped closer and listened. It sounded like someone whispering my name. Just once, quiet, then silence. I walked down the hall, looked around, nothing, no one. I checked every room, even the closet, nothing there. I told myself I was tired. Maybe I imagined it, but the next night I heard it again. Only this time it said a sentence. Don't wait too long. Same words from the letter, same voice as mine, exactly like mine. I stood in the middle of the hallway, frozen. Hello, I said. No answer, but then just for a second, I heard a soft laugh. Also, my laugh, low and slow. I didn't sleep that night. I kept the lights on and stayed on the couch, blanket over me, eyes open. The next day, I stayed home from work. I felt sick, not in my body, but in my head, like something was off inside me. That night, it got worse. It was around 2 a.m. I was lying in bed, half awake, when I heard the voice again. This time, it was clearer. It was coming from the hallway. Was reading. I knew the words right away. It was reading the suicide note. My suicide note. I'm tired of fighting him. I thought I could stop it this time, but I was wrong. I'm sorry. I sat up in bed fast. My heart was pounding. I listened. The voice kept going. Word for word, my full name, dated March 3rd, 2032. Silence. Then I heard a soft laugh again. Same laugh, my laugh, but it wasn't me. I stood up, walked slowly toward the hallway. I didn't say anything this time, just listened. The air felt heavy, like something was pushing down on me. I stepped past the bathroom and stopped in front of the hallway mirror, and I froze. I looked at myself, at least. I thought it was me, but something was wrong. My reflection was a second behind. When I lifted my hand, it lifted a moment later. When I blinked, it blinked after, and it was smiling. I wasn't. I took a step back. The smile stayed, wide, cold. I whispered, "What are you?" The smile got bigger. Then the mouth moved, but no sound came out. Just lips moving, saying something I couldn't hear. I turned and ran into the living room. I sat on the couch and stared at the wall, too scared to turn around again. After a few minutes, I got up and covered the hallway mirror with a blanket. I didn't want to see it anymore. I didn't want it to see me. Since that night, I've started hearing the voice more often, in the bathroom, in the kitchen, sometimes behind me while I'm brushing my teeth. It always says things I already know. Things from the letters, things I never said out loud. It sounds just like me, but it isn't me. I don't know what it is, or why it's getting louder, but I know one thing now. Whatever it is, it's not just copying me, it's learning. Things got worse fast. It started with a phone call I didn't remember. My phone showed I had called someone from work around 2:16 a.m, but I was asleep, at least. I thought I was. I checked the call log 3 times. It was real, 2 minutes long. I texted them the next morning. "Hey, did I call you last night?" They replied, "Yeah, but you didn't say anything, just breathing." I hung up. I didn't know what to say back. A few days later, I got an email from my own account. I didn't write it, but it was sent to an old contact, someone I hadn't spoken to in years. The message said, "It's happening again. If I disappear, don't let him in." Signed with my full name, exactly how I sign things. I checked my sent folder. It was their time dash stamped 3:03 a.m. I don't remember writing it. I don't even remember being awake. But that's not all. At work, one of my co-workers stopped me in the break room. "Hey," she said, "I saw you at Mel's diner yesterday. You just walked right out as I came in." I shook my head. I wasn't. At Mel's, she frowned. "Really? You were wearing that same jacket?" I looked down at my jacket. I had worn it yesterday, but I wasn't at any diner. I was home, trying to sleep. I told her again, it wasn't me. She stared at me for a second too long, then nodded slowly. Weird. That word stuck with me. Weird. It wasn't weird. It wasn't weird. It was wrong. Something was wrong. I started locking every door. I covered the hallway mirror again. I unplugged my Wi-Fi. I even turned off my phone at night. But it didn't matter. Things still kept happening. I'd wake up and find my bedroom window open. I'd hear a voice whispering my name in the shower. One night, I looked at myself in the mirror and for a second, I didn't know if it was really me, the way I blinked, the way I stood. Something felt off. I stepped back and whispered, "What do you want?" The reflection smiled. I didn't. That's when it clicked. This wasn't just about warning my past self. It wasn't about stopping something from happening. It was about erasing me, replacing me. And it was working. People already thought they saw me in places I hadn't been. Messages were going out from me. Voices were sounding like me every night. I felt a little less real. I started writing things down, what I did, where I went, who I talked to, just to be sure it was me. But some mornings, I'd wake up and the notes were changed, edited, corrected. One page had a line I never wrote. "He's almost ready. You're almost gone." In my own handwriting, I started losing time. I'd look at the clock, it would be 10 o'clock a.m. I'd blink, and it would be 12:43. I didn't eat. I didn't move, but 2 hours had passed. I tried to fight it, to hold on, but something was pulling me under. Piece by piece, I kept thinking about all those letters in the wall, all the ones written by me, or by something that looked like me, all the ones that failed. Now I understood. They weren't warnings, they were goodbyes. I'm out of time, I don't sleep anymore. I barely eat. I hear the voice all the time now. It doesn't whisper anymore. It talks, and it sounds more like me every day. Sometimes I answer without meaning to. Today, I looked in the mirror, and it blinked before I did. That's when I knew I have to try something else. I opened my drawer and pulled out paper, an old pen, an envelope. I sat at the kitchen table and started writing. My hands were shaking, but I kept going. I wrote, "This is a warning. You'll get this letter and think it's fake, but it's not. It's real. It's from you, from me, from what's left of us. Dan, trust the voice. Don't open the closet after midnight. Don't answer the knock. Burn the photo. Forget the house. Leave. If you wait too long, it will take your name, your face, your memories. You won't even know what you've lost." I stopped writing for a second. My hand felt numb, but I kept going. This isn't the first time we've tried. Maybe it's the last. If you're reading this, please don't be me. I signed it with my full name. Then I looked at the date, today I wrote it on the top corner and circled it. I folded the paper and slid it into the envelope, sealed it, licked the edge shut. It tasted bitter. I grabbed a black marker and wrote one thing on the front. May sat there for a long time, staring at it. Would it work? Would it change anything? Or was I just doing what the last version of me did? Another loop, another try, another failure. I stood up slowly and walked to the front door. I placed the envelope on the table by the entryway. I whispered, "Please reach me in time." As I turned to walk back to the kitchen, knock, knock, knock. 3 soft knocks at the front door. I froze. The letter was still on the table. I didn't move. My heart started beating hard, loud, like it filled my whole chest. Another knock, same rhythm. I stepped toward the peephole. Slowly, I looked through it, and I saw me. Not just someone who looked like me. It was me, same jacket, same hair, same tired eyes, but the face was too still. No blinking, no breathing, just a slight smile. I stepped back. The knock came again. Knock, knock, knock. I didn't open it. I didn't say a word. I turned and looked at the letter on the table, and I whispered to myself, "Please don't open the door." Something tapped back when I knocked on my basement wall. It was supposed to be solid, just concrete. But when he knocked, something on the other side knocked back. Last week, I found a small puddle near the basement steps. At first, I thought it was just rainwater from outside, but the floor was dry near the door. The water was coming from deeper inside. I grabbed a flashlight and headed down. My basement isn't finished. Just cement floors, old wooden beams, and spider webs. It smells like dust and rust. I don't go down there unless I have to. The leak was near the far wall, behind the water heater. When I moved some boxes aside, I saw a slow drip coming from one of the old pipes. Great, I muttered. I turned off the main valve, dried the pipe, and wrapped it with tape for now. I planned to call a plumber later as I stood up. My flashlight hit the wall behind the pipe. It looked different from the others. The rest of the basement walls were stone or cinder block. This one was drywall. Newer, clean edges, like it had been added later. I walked over and knocked on it with my knuckles. Thump thump, it sounded hollow. I knocked again, same sound. Then, just for fun, I tapped a rhythm. Tap dash, tap dot dot dot, tap, tap dot. Like a little beat, I smiled. If someone's in there, better come out now, I joked. A few seconds passed, and then I heard it, dot tap dash, tap dot 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 tap. Tap dot, the exact same pattern, coming from inside the wall. I froze. I didn't move, didn't breathe. Had I just heard that? Maybe it was an echo. I knocked once more. Tap, tot, nothing. I waited, Don, then a soft reply. Top, tap, tot. I backed up slowly. My heart was pounding. Now, maybe it was an animal. A raccoon or something trapped inside. Yeah, maybe that was it. Still, it didn't feel right. I leaned in close to the wall. Hello, I whispered. Silence then, the softest tap. Just once, tap. It felt like it was answering me. I stood there for maybe 30 seconds, not sure what to do. Finally, I said out loud, I'm going back upstairs now. I grabbed my flashlight, turned off the valve, and climbed the steps fast. I didn't run, but I wanted to. Back upstairs, I sat on the couch and stared at the basement door. Was there something behind that wall? Something alive? Maybe, I imagined. It maybe the pipes made the noise, or maybe the echo just bounced weird. But deep down, I didn't believe that it copied me. The same rhythm, the same beat. It knew what I tapped. Later that night, I stood at the top of the basement steps, just listening. I didn't hear anything. No more tapping, still. I left the light on downstairs before going to bed. I didn't sleep well that night. I woke up to a noise, tap, tap, tap. It was soft, slow, like someone tapping with a fingernail. I sat up in bed and listened. It was coming from below me. From the floor, I looked at the clock, 2:17 a.m. The sound kept going, steady, like it had a pattern. I waited to see if it would stop. It didn't. Tap, 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 tap. It was the same beat. I knocked on the basement wall earlier. My stomach dropped. I got out of bed and walked down the hall. I stood in the kitchen, above the basement, still tapping. I opened the basement door and listened. It was louder now. I turned on the basement light and started down the stairs. Halfway down, I stopped. Tap, tap, tap. It was coming from the same wall. As before, I didn't want to go closer, but I did. The basement felt colder tonight. I walked past the water heater and stood in front of the hollow wall again. I didn't hear anything for a second, then dash tap. Tap dot just two. I knocked once. Tap, it answered. I waited, then knocked again 2 times. Tap, tap, same answer, same pattern. My heart was beating fast now. I pressed my ear to the wall. Nothing, I whispered. Who's there? No reply. I stayed there, listening. Still nothing. Just when I turned to leave, dash tap. Louder this time. Not hard, not angry, just firm, like a hand hitting the wall. Just once, I jumped and dropped my flashlight. It clattered on the floor, but the beam stayed on. I grabbed it and stood still for a moment. I told myself again, it's just a raccoon or something, or maybe old pipes. But it didn't feel like that. It felt like something was trying to talk. I looked at the wall one more time, then I knocked one last time. No answer. I backed away, still facing the wall. Then I turned and walked upstairs. Slow, I closed the basement door and locked it. I've never locked it before. I stood there for a few minutes, staring at the doorknob. Nothing happened. I went back to bed, but I didn't sleep. I kept thinking about that knock the first night. It was soft, quiet. Tonight, it was louder, clearer, like it was getting closer or braver. After that second night, the tapping didn't stop. It started happening during the day too once. While I was brushing my teeth, I heard it behind the bathroom wall. Just 3 soft knocks. Tap, tap, tap. I froze. The bathroom is 2 floors above the basement. I didn't know what to think. I waited, toothbrush still in my mouth. Nothing. Then I heard it again, but this time from the hallway closet. Tap, tap. I dropped the toothbrush and opened the closet door fast. Just coats and shoes. Nothing inside. I didn't imagine it. I know I didn't. That night, I sat on the couch with the TV on low. I heard tapping again. From the floor under me, it was light but steady, like someone was gently tapping the ceiling below. I leaned down and put my hand on the floor. The tapping stopped. I stood up and turned off the TV. It was quiet now, too quiet. I walked to the basement door and opened it. I didn't hear anything at first. Then I said, "Stop it." Nothing. I waited. Tap, just one. I slammed the door shut and locked it. Again, I couldn't take it anymore. The next night, I set up my phone to record video. I placed it at the top of the basement stairs and left it running while I slept. The tapping always happened around the same time, after 2 a.m. when I woke up. I grabbed the phone and opened the video. It was dark, but the hallway was visible. For the first 2 hours, nothing happened. Then, at 2:14 a.m., it started tap, 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 steady, spaced out. It sounded like it was coming from the basement, but also from the walls. It kept going, slow and even. I listened closely, trying to figure out the pattern. That's when something hit me. I placed 2 fingers on my neck. I felt my pulse. I rewound the video, played the tapping again, and realized it matched my heartbeat exactly. I didn't move for a long time. I just sat there, staring at the screen, listening to the sound repeat. Tap, 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 dot. Every beat, every second, in perfect rhythm with me. It wasn't random, it was following me. I turned off the phone and sat in silence. I didn't go to work that day. I didn't answer any texts. I just sat in my house, listening. Every now and then, I'd hear a single knock from somewhere inside the walls. Always just one. Always soft, like it was reminding me I'm still here. At night, I thought I heard it again, but not from the wall this time, from inside my pillow. Just a tiny sound, like tapping from underneath my head. I didn't move, I didn't sleep. All I could think was, how does it know my heartbeat? I had to know what was behind the wall. It was driving me crazy. The tapping, the way it copied me, the sounds moving around the house, and now, matching my heartbeat. It wasn't normal. It wasn't some raccoon or pipe. I needed to see inside, so I bought a drill. I waited until late afternoon. I wanted some light outside, just in case. I brought the drill, a flashlight, and a small mirror down to the basement. The wall was cold. When I touched it, too cold for drywall. I took a deep breath, picked a spot near the center, and started drilling. The sound echoed through the basement. Dust flew out. The smell of dry wood and something sour came through the hole. I stopped. Once the drill pushed all the way through, I dropped it and leaned close. The hole was about the size of a coin, just enough to look through. I turned on the flashlight and held it to the edge of the hole. I couldn't see much, just black space, maybe 2 feet of nothing. Then old stone behind it. It really was hollow. I leaned in and looked closer. Still nothing. Then I had an idea. I grabbed the small makeup mirror I brought and tried to angle it into the hole. If I turned it just right, I could see more of the inside. I adjusted the mirror, turned the flashlight again, and then I saw it, just for a second. A human eye, wide, open, looking straight at me. It didn't blink, it didn't move, just stared. I dropped the mirror and fell backwards. I hit the floor hard. My flashlight rolled across the basement, casting shadows all over the walls. I scrambled backward until my back hit the steps. I waited 10 seconds. 20, no sound. I forced myself to breathe. Then I stood up, slowly, shaking. I picked up the flashlight and aimed it at the wall again. The hole was still there, empty. Took a deep breath and walked back to it. My legs felt like jelly. I looked through the hole again. Nothing, just black space. No eye, no face, no movement. I grabbed the mirror again, my hand still shaking, and slowly tilted it inside. Still nothing, just the empty wall. I stood there for a long time, staring into that tiny hole. I wanted to believe I imagined it. Maybe it was a trick of the light. Maybe the mirror reflected my own eyes somehow. Yeah, maybe it was just me. But deep down, I knew what I saw. It was real. Something looked back at me. Something that didn't blink. Something waiting. I stuffed a tissue into the hole and taped over. I didn't want it open, not even a little. Then I went upstairs, locked the basement door, and pushed a chair in front of it. I didn't sleep again that night. I just kept thinking. It didn't move. It didn't flinch. It already knew I'd be there. I woke up around 3 a.m. at first. I didn't know why. Then I heard it, a whisper. It was very soft, like someone breathing through a crack in the wall. I held my breath and listened. I heard it again, a word this time. It said my name. Quiet, slow, almost unsure. Your name? I sat up. It was coming from the basement, from under the floor. I didn't move for a few seconds. Maybe I was dreaming. But then I heard it again. Your name, same voice, a little louder. Still soft, still not right. I got out of bed and grabbed my flashlight. I walked slowly to the basement door. I put my ear against it. Nothing. Then your name. This time it was clearer, but it sounded wrong, like someone trying to learn my voice. I turned a knob and opened the door. The basement light was off. I stepped down a few stairs and aimed my flashlight into the dark. Who's down there? I asked. Silence then. After a pause, who's down there? It repeated me. Not quite right, it sounded like me, but slower. Like it was trying to copy the way I said it. Stop it, I said. Another pause. Stop it. The same words. My voice, just a little off. I felt my stomach twist. I walked down 2 more steps. Why are you doing this? I asked. No reply. I said it again, louder than I heard. Why are you doing this? Still me, still not me. It came from deep inside the basement, near the wall. I should have left. I should have run back upstairs and locked the door, but I didn't. I kept going. The air felt heavier as I moved. Each step felt harder than the last. I reached the bottom and aimed the light. Around the room, nothing. Just the pipes, the old boxes, the patched over hole, and the wall. That wall, are you copying me? I said, no answer. Say something else, I whispered. Then, silence. For a full 10 seconds. Just when I thought it stopped. Say something else. But this time, the voice was faster, almost perfect, closer to how I really speak. I backed away. I didn't say anything else. I just walked up the stairs, slow and quiet. I closed the door behind me and locked it. Then I went to the bathroom and looked in the mirror. I stared at myself for a long time. That voice, it wasn't just mimicking me, it was practicing. I started waking up in strange places. One morning, I opened my eyes and realized I was lying on the basement steps, cold, hard concrete under my cheek. I sat up fast. I didn't remember walking down. There, I rubbed my hands and saw dust on them, like I'd been digging or touching the wall. I touched the basement door. It was closed. I had no idea how I got there that day. I felt tired, like I'd been running all night. The tapping kept coming, too, but it was different now. It wasn't just from the walls. Sometimes I heard it inside my head, a soft knocking just beneath my thoughts. At work, in the middle of a meeting, I'd hear it dots, tap, tap, tap. I'd freeze for a second, not knowing where the sound came from. Sometimes I'd catch myself knocking on my desk. People stared. "Are you okay?" A coworker asked once. I just shook my head at home. I tried to ignore it, but the tapping was always there. It was like a second heartbeat, like something inside me. One night, I woke up again, this time in front of the basement wall. I was sitting on the floor, my back against it. I didn't remember going there. My hands were dirty. I looked around. The basement was dark, except for a little light from outside. I felt a cold sweat on my forehead. I stood up and touched the wall. It was rough and cold. The tapping started again, soft but steady. I pressed my ear to the wall. Tap, tap, tap. I shook my head. "No," I whispered, but the sound kept going. I tried to push it away, to stop thinking about it, but the tapping inside my head grew louder. Every day it got stronger. I began having strange dreams. I dreamed the wall opened and something came out. It was me, but not me. It smiled a smile I didn't recognize. The dreams felt real, so did the tapping. One morning, I woke up on the basement steps again. This time, I found a small pile of dirt beside me. I don't know where it came from or why it was there. I'm scared. I don't know if I'm losing my mind or if something is taking over. The tapping isn't just a sound anymore. It's inside me, waiting. I needed answers. Something was wrong with the house. The tapping, the shadows, waking up in the basement. I had to know what was going on, so I decided to visit the county records office the next day. It was a small building with dusty books and old maps, the kind of place where time feels stuck. I asked the clerk if I could see anything about the house's history. They gave me a folder with papers and a big, folded map. I spread the map on a table. The house was there, but so was something else. A smaller, older building, right under where my basement is now. It was marked as a storage cellar, built in the late 1800s. The note said it was sealed off after some kind of accident. The papers didn't say what happened exactly, that the cellar was closed and covered over. I looked closer at the map. The basement wall I thought was normal. It wasn't on the old plans. It was added decades later. Someone had built a wall inside the basement to hide the cellar. I felt a chill. The tapping, the noises, it all made sense now. Something was trapped behind that wall. Something they didn't want anyone to find. I asked the clerk if there were any stories about the house or the cellar. They shrugged and said people said the place was unlucky, but no one knew why. I left the office with the papers and the map. That night, I looked at the photocopies again. The old cellar looked small and dark. I couldn't imagine what was inside. I tried to think about what could be trapped. A person, an animal, something else. The idea made my skin crawl. I went down to the basement and stood by the hidden wall. I knocked softly. Tap, no answer. I tapped again. Nothing. But I felt eyes watching me. I felt like something was just waiting for me to open the wall to let it out. I didn't sleep well that night. The house felt heavier, like it was holding a secret too big to share. After what I found in the records, the tapping got worse. Not just random knocks anymore. It was like it was trying to talk, but not with words, more like it was finishing my sentences. I noticed it the first time when I was sitting on the couch, thinking about what to do next. I whispered to myself, maybe I should just ignore it. Then, from the basement wall, came a soft tap, 3 knocks. Tap, tap, tap. It matched the rhythm of the words I said, like it was replying. I sat frozen. How do you know what I'm thinking? The tapping didn't stop. It got faster and matched every sentence I thought. Sometimes, I would think of something, private memories I never told anyone, and it would tap the same pattern like it knew them too. One night, I woke up to find myself writing strange words on a piece of paper next to my bed. I didn't remember writing them. The paper said, "Let me out." Another night, I woke up again. This time, the paper said, "You were never alone." I don't know where the papers came from. Maybe I wrote them in my sleep. Maybe something else did. The tapping felt like it was inside my head now. When I talked, it responded. When I was quiet, it waited. One evening I tried to block it out. I covered my ears and closed my eyes. Still, it knocked. Tap, tap, tap. I shouted, "Leave me alone." The tapping stopped for a moment. Then, slow and clear. Tap, 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 tap. It wasn't angry. It was patient, like it was waiting for me to understand. I started to feel like I was losing control, like I wasn't the only one in my own mind. My dreams got worse. I saw the wall opening and something reaching out. I would wake up sweating, with a pounding heart. The tapping would start again, soft but steady. One night, I heard it say something, not in words, not with a voice, but in a rhythm. It was spelling something out. I tried to read it. LETMEOUT. Covered my face with my hands. "Please," I whispered. "Who are you?" No answer. Only tapping. I'm scared. I don't know what will happen next, but I know this isn't over. It knows me. It's inside me, and it's waiting. I couldn't take it anymore. The tapping, the whispers, the feeling that something was watching me all the time. One night, I stood in front of the basement wall and yelled, "Why are you doing this? What do you want from me?" I slammed my fists against the cold surface. Bang, bang, bang. The tapping stopped. For a long, heavy silence. Then, almost like a voice inside my head, I heard myself say, "Wait." I stopped. I thought back to that first day in the basement. The day I knocked on the wall. I was the one who started this. I knocked first. I was the one who disturbed whatever was behind that wall. Maybe it wasn't trying to get out. Maybe it was waiting for me to invite it. I felt my breath catch. What had I done? What had I invited? The wall started to crack. Small pieces of plaster fell to the floor. I stepped back. The cracks grew wider. The basement light flickered. I couldn't look away. The wall began to crumble on its own. Dust filled the air. The sound of breaking plaster echoed through the room. I covered my mouth. My heart was racing. Then the tapping started again, but this time, it was faster, almost angry. Tap dash tap dash tap dash tap dash tap dash tap dash tap. I wanted to run, but I stayed. Because I knew now, this wasn't just some random thing. This was a part of me. A part I had opened by knocking first. The wall gave way a little more. I heard a voice. Not from outside, but inside my head. Thank you. I dropped to my knees. The last piece of plaster fell. The hole was big enough to see inside. But I couldn't look. I covered my eyes. I didn't want to see what was waiting. But the tapping kept going. Tap, tap, tap. Like a heartbeat. My heartbeat. I realized something. I wasn't alone. And I never had been. Because I was the one who knocked first. And now, I had to live with what came after. I knew I had to go down there one last time. The basement door was locked, but the chair I pushed in front was knocked over. Like someone wanted me to go in. I took a deep breath and opened the door. The light flickered, but it stayed on. I walked down the stairs slowly. When I got to the wall, it was half open. The plaster was broken, and the hole was big enough to step through. I hesitated, then I saw it. Inside the dark hollow, there was a shadow. It looked like a person, but it wasn't a person. It was me, same height, same shape. It even spoke in my voice. Welcome back, it said. The voice was almost right, but something was wrong. It sounded hollow, like an echo. I didn't say anything. The shadow moved closer. Its hand reached out. I stepped back, but it kept coming. The air felt heavy, cold. The shadow smiled, but it wasn't a real smile. It didn't reach the eyes. It whispered, "I've been waiting." I looked around. No way out, but the stairs behind me. I felt trapped. The shadow moved faster now. Its hand grabbed my arm. I tried to pull away, but it was strong. I looked into those empty eyes and saw something I hated. Not fear, not anger. Something worse. A quiet hunger. I screamed, but no sound came out. Suddenly, everything went black. When I woke up, I was upstairs, or maybe I wasn't. I don't remember which one of us came back upstairs. I don't know if I'm still here. If I am, I don't know for how long. Because sometimes, when I look in the mirror, I don't see me. I see something else, something waiting.